Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our reactions to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? Today, we wrote a spooky new twist on the creature from the Black Lagoon. Let's get started.
This is weirdly enough like our first big monster rampage through a town 9 movies in.
It needed to happen.
And so we have the classic horror movie transgression, and now they basically deserve whatever they get.
Yeah.
All right.
Horror movie morals.
Yep.
In 2017, Universal Studios announced the birth of a new shared universe of monster movies, bringing their classic horror icons into the contemporary franchise film landscape. But after the critical and financial failure of its first installment, the project was indefinitely abandoned. Now, in 2023, the powers that be have called upon one pulp horror devotee and one snarky film critic to unearth the concept. I'm Dylan Roth.
And I'm Dalton DeShane.
Are you afraid of the dark universe?
Hello, and welcome back to the Dark Universe. I am your host, Dalton DeShane.
And I'm your other host, Dylan Roth.
And welcome back to the podcast where we attempt to revive Universal Studios' failed Dark Universe project, one film at a time. We are now in the middle of our phase 2 of the Dark Universe. And today I will be pitching you my own take on the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I'm excited for this because I haven't read your pitch yet. I'm going to experience it
Always
for the first time on the air, as always. But what I understand about this Black Lagoon piece, which I think you said is actually just going to be called The Black Lagoon.
It is. It is just titled The Black Lagoon.
Simplified a little bit, is that it is, unlike a lot of the other chapters we've done in this universe, not really built like a franchise picture with a bunch of like connections to other films or like building runway for a big crossover, that it's more of just its own horror movie, which I think is very exciting because we always want to do different things on the show week to week.
Well, this is actually our first time completely introducing a new franchise character since The Invisible Man.
That's true.
As we were doing our review of phase 1, I was really intrigued by the idea that you said in our very first episode, which was that we would probably want to make these just regular monster movies where the monsters would not be our main characters, right? It would just be, they would kind of be the antagonists, or they would be, but we would follow new characters who maybe this would be their only appearance. We would just sign them for single film contracts and follow their story.
Yeah, and then we ended up barely doing that. But
well,
I'm excited for the idea that we would return to that.
You sort of did that with Jekyll and Hyde, right? Because we followed Zoe Kravitz's character, and Jekyll and Hyde were sort of not the central protagonists of that movie, Hyde being the antagonist along with Prodigium kind of thing. I guess I sort of did it in Frankenstein, but again, Frankenstein was sort of the main character, you know, him and Caroline, it was sort of the two of them together.
Caroline doesn't really have an arc in that movie. It's more about Frankenstein.
It's more about Victor,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also going to be trying to take this advice in at least one of the 2 movies that I have coming up in phase 2. But yeah, I'm excited for, you have told me at some point in this process, this was going to be a straight up creature feature.
This I felt like the best opportunity to not do any franchise tie-in stuff at all. This is completely standalone. And so as a result, we don't need to do a previously on recap here. There is no background that I need to make the listener aware of as we go into this.
This could be a great first episode. If you happen to be joining us for the first time, welcome.
Perfect
Hopefully
choice.
you like what you hear and then you'll want to bounce back and listen from the beginning.
But this is a great jumping on point.
But that part of why that's possible is that this character, the Gill-Man, does not come packed with as many crazy expectations, is not as loaded. It hasn't been iterated upon as many times, in part because it is original to Universal rather than being established by a novel from, you know, like the 19th century.
Exactly. To be clear, there are a ton of Gill-Man fans. I mean, he's one of the most popular Universal monsters, but he has the least amount of like lore, I would say. Like a lot of our other characters have a lot of rules to follow, a lot of big iconography that's been repeated over and over and over that you kind of have to find new takes on. And I want to get into how that influenced my story in a second. But while we're talking about sort of past versions, I want to go into our latest segment that we started with Werewolves of London, where we talk about fan expectations. So right now we're going to kind of pretend that, let's say we're back at our phase 2 slate announcement where we've announced that we're doing a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. There's no trailer, no word on casting or anything. What would the fans be saying they want from a Dark Universe Black Lagoon movie?
Well, we now have the benefit of having some actual fans.
We have some fans
who have chimed in on this.
Exactly.
I've compiled some of the
people.
Yes, some of the people who responded to our call to action on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. From Instagram, M. Kinchlow said, "This movie needs a film score that goes hard in the paint. Curious who y'all decide to score the picture and whether or not it feels like an old school dramatic throwback or a more modern influenced orchestration." On this thread, people talked about Cliff Martinez or Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Disaster Piece. So this is more about mood. I feel like I have an idea based on what you've told me what direction this is going to be. It's not going to be so much bombastic as it is like naturalist.
Well, and this is all up to you, really, since you're the scorer of, you're the composer behind all of our
Okay, but just to be
Dark
clear,
Universe
in the
scores.
canon, on the show, I do the music. In the canon, they will be done by composers.
Yes.
And I do think that that's a good question. Although this potentially could point me in the direction of what I might do on the show.
I think the score thing is an important thing to point out, because in the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, nobody is as scared of the creature as the trumpet player.
Oh, absolutely.
Anytime
that one musical sting gets really burned into your head,
even a hand appears and that trumpet player is just screaming into his horn. He has a creature phobia. And so I think that is really important. I really liked the suggestion in there of Disaster Piece, who I think scored It Follows, right?
It Follows, and also Bodies, directed by one of our other directors.
I think kind of a subdued but tense electronic score would actually fit what I have pretty well. So unless you have other ideas at the end of the pitch, I'm pretty comfortable saying they would be a great fit.
Okay. Also from Dylan Gray, that's with 2 A's on Instagram. Got to go either the Jim Henson creature route or the Andy Serkis mocap route for the creature. Do you have an idea of how you'd want? I mean, I don't know anything about your creature, but how you would want the what it's like? Would you want it realized?
Oh, we're going classic stunt guy in a costume.
That's what I figured from you.
It can be CGI enhanced, but I want it to be physical, especially because this guy's got to be soaking fucking wet. And it just doesn't look the same. Even Avatar, I feel like computer wet and foam latex wet are very different things.
You have to feel the weight of all that water soaked into the suit.
Exactly. And so we need that kind of tangibility to the creature. I did not cast anyone as the creature because I do think it would be probably a stuntman in the sort of history of horror monsters.
You would want somebody like a Doug Jones, but you don't want Doug Jones because Doug Jones has done it already.
Exactly. And I feel like this is a good opportunity to give a big rest in peace to Rico Browning, who played the original creature underwater in the original movie, did all the underwater swimming and stunts and things like that, who just passed away on February 27th. And I want to give him a shout out because he's a legend.
Sure, R.I.P. to a true horror legend.
Absolutely,
that
horror
legend. Unsung, yeah.
And it just happened to coincide with our pitch pretty closely. So
we'll throw one of those dedication cards up at the beginning of the film.
Yes, this pitch is dedicated to him. I don't know if he would like it. I don't know anything about him other than that he was the creature. But
thinking about, though, creative forces, I'll get a little bit more into this when we get into my own expectations for it. But so much of why The Creature from the Black Lagoon as an original film is remembered at all, let alone how fondly it is because of Millicent Patrick's costume design. It is so much has to do with her vision of the character's look. It's pretty much the whole thing is the look of the character.
Yeah, and I think that was really the number one thing I needed to make sure we keep. I feel like the iconography of his design is really the biggest thing about the creature you want to get right. And so we'll talk about this more when we get into it, but basically my design is sort of similar but a little bit beefed up, and it's tough to sort of describe in an audio medium.
Sure,
a lot of this is going to be left up to the imagination of the audience.
But that also lets you don't have to worry about keeping what's iconic about the character in your pitch.
Yeah, I get to skip the hardest part, the thing that people would be most critical about.
Now, I Hate Jay Revis says that in some future installment, hopefully we'll make the creature wear clothes like in The Creature Walks Among Us or like Uncle Gilbert on the Munsters. Now, looping back around to, we were talking about like what it is that's beloved about the character. And I have to admit that again, I am our show's one cishet host and only cishet listener, that I don't understand what makes Gill-Man a queer icon. I recently watched the movie, and as far as I know, that where this legacy began was with Marilyn Monroe talking about the monster being lonely in the movie Some Like It Hot, and that it actually isn't so much what's in the text. But I know that user TESD Joker 64 was saying that one thing they would expect us was, as usual, having an LGBTQIA representation in our film, and that's probably something that would be expected of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I think that a lot of where that comes from and is the case with a lot of horror is the original Creature is definitely a romance of a sort, like the Creature and Julia Adams. I believe that they have a sort of romance that is obviously unrequited by Julia's character, but they have that romantic dance underwater. And so I think the idea of a forbidden love that is not returned to you because of who you are and how you look, I think is something queer people have always kind of identified with. That kind of queer people, I think there's a lot of identification with monster characters, whether it be Victor Frankenstein or the Creature or a vampire, because a lot of it is, there's a lot of romance in these movies, but also being othered, right. And I think that's kind of the core of the thing. So I will say that my Black Lagoon definitely keeps a lot of queerness, as you will hear, but not in the romantic angle as in the original. And that's kind of all I'll say for now. Do we have any other fan expectations?
Oh, just the lingering question of how your remake will handle the Shape of Water of it all. Because once again, like in Your Invisible Man, we are dealing with a concept that has recently been redone to great effect.
Yes.
The Shape of Water is a Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
Did you have to bend over backwards to avoid treading the same territory that Guillermo del Toro did in that film?
I actually didn't, because I think once, I sort of put it in my head like, okay, well, it won't be a romance, because Shape of Water is a romance involving
it is
the fish creature.
The monster fucker prestige picture.
And the original, as I just said, is a romance. And so I think I just sort of started from, well, okay, it's not going to be that. And from there, I just had to find a take on it that wasn't romantic in nature. And I think I found it. I will let me know at the end if you think I covered any of the same ground, but I don't think I did. And it wasn't that hard to, once I just kind of said, okay, well, I'm not going that direction.
All right. Well, that pretty much brings us to the only thing that I have to add really is that I don't bring a lot of baggage to this one. I don't have a really strong attachment to the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
It is really, I do think that so much of what people like about it does just come down to that costume. And so I think there's a little bit of a Boba Fett effect here in sort of the way that pop culture reverberations. He's too good looking a character, too good looking an action figure to not be interesting. So we all have to put all of our mental effort into justifying how interested we are.
Which in a certain way adds to the pressure, because there's now so much fan love for this character, but not much to go off of story-wise. And so you kind of have the pressure of needing to create a story that justifies the amount of passion for the character. So let's get into sort of what I was taking away as I went into this, because I had no idea what I was going to do at first. I watched the original movie. I watched the sequel, Revenge of the Creature. I did not watch the third one where he put pants on. I watched Tigers Are Not Afraid, as we've said, because that's who I'm going to have direct it. And I actually think the director kind of helped inform my direction on where to take the story, because I kind of landed on her first.
I'm actually not sure that we've talked about this on the air yet in this episode. So let's introduce us to your director.
So my director is Issa Lopez, who is someone I've wanted to get involved with the Dark Universe since we were ideating for Dark Legion, House of Dracula. I believe I mentioned her on that episode. She is a Mexican film director who did the film Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is streaming on Shudder, an excellent film that's sort of a Guillermo del Toro-esque dark fairy tale about orphan children living in a neighborhood sort of ravaged by a local drug cartel.
It plays very much within that sort of tradition of magical realism, the idea that there are these supernatural elements in the world that the characters don't have to acknowledge as being odd. And it's very artful. I found the depiction of the sort of grown-up children of this world really convincing and powerful. It's also one of the most depressing movies that I've seen in months.
It's very bleak.
It was it's hard. It's a hard watch.
Well,
and I'm really hoping that the Black Lagoon, if it's gonna be that much of a bummer, is also at least that interesting conceptually and that heartfelt to justify. I always say that a movie that's depressing is allowed to be as depressing as you want, as long as you justify how depressing your movie is with how artfully you tell your story.
I don't think this is a depressing movie. I picked Issa Lopez because I thought she would handle a lot of the creature stuff very well. I like the atmosphere of the film. I like the way and so basically I was kind of like, I want to get her involved in the dark universe. Maybe I could just put her with creature because I don't know what I'm going to do for creature yet, but maybe that can help inform it.
And you were saying that helps to guide you in the direction you wanted to do as a story.
And so I watched the original movies and I was kind of thinking, what are the things that I feel like I need to keep? As we talked about, there's not a whole lot of lore. He's just kind of a prehistoric creature who lives in a place called the Black Lagoon. The Black Lagoon is an essential part of the lore because it's in the title, but the Black Lagoon is just kind of a normal lagoon. Yeah. And so one of the things I approached this was like, okay, well, what is the Black Lagoon? Where is that going to be? Why is it important? Does that inform the creature at all? But of course, as we talked about, the biggest thing is the design. And so I wanted to keep the design of the creature as close to as possible. I didn't want him to talk. I thought making him a talking creature, even though that would make him easily fit into our Dark Legion, it felt like blasphemy to me.
Oh, no, you can't do that. I mean, it helps to distinguish him. And also, like, it's in this audio format, kind of a crutch.
Yeah. And so I didn't want him to talk. And I was thinking about, what iconography from the original film is crucial. And I think the water dance is the big one. It's sort of the establishment of the romantic undertones of the movie where Julia's character is swimming and the creature is swimming underneath her. She doesn't know he's there. And so I wanted to have something that sort of was able to capture that, but in very different circumstances that recontextualizes. So I'm not just repeating the same thing, but I thought that was an iconic enough moment that a true remake now should honor that. So that was something I went into. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of concrete plot details. And so I felt pretty free to kind of invent something whole cloth. And so I did. And so I hope people like it because this is kind of a big swing for the creature and the Black Lagoon. Oh, and the last thing that I was kind of worried about is how does this fit in with the Dark Legion? Because I knew I wanted to be standalone. So to be honest, I wasn't really thinking about it mostly. I was like, my number one concern is just making a really good standalone film, especially coming off The Mummy Returns, which is all franchise building.
Right.
And the entire story of that was built around the aftermath of Dark Legion and incorporating the Brendan Fraser movies and all that kind of stuff. And this, I was like, I just want to make a good story. So if I was writing this as a comic book series, it would stand alone and be great. And by the way, I would love to do that. If you're a comic editor out there and want to turn this into a graphic novel, let me know. I'm a comic writer. Or if I was going to pitch it as a movie, as a screenplay, I just want it to be standalone. But I was kind of thinking like, okay, but we're going to have to do another crossover here and we're going to have to integrate the creature. We can't
People
ignore
are going to
the
be
creature.
expecting it, right?
And so I have to come up with a way that, again, is not him standing in the background quipping along with the Invisible Man. Like I got to find a better solution than that. And I think I have. So with all that preamble taken care of, I think we can get into it.
Let's go.
All right. Without further ado, submitted for the approval of the Universal Studios Board of Directors, which I should now maybe clarify for legal reasons, is a joke. This is Dalton Deshane's The Black Lagoon. Cold open. At first, we're not sure what we're looking at. The screen is blurry and unfocused, and a voice talks in the background, but it's muffled and unintelligible. Then things slowly start to sharpen and take shape, and the image on the screen starts to rotate. We realize it's been upside down, and that we're in a doctor's office, and the voice belongs to a man in a white coat. But this isn't an examination room, this is an oncologist's office. The doc sits at his desk, with a row of x-rays behind him. Just as the picture is about to land right side up, we flip to a close-up of the man whose POV we were just inhabiting. It's a man named Willie Krause, played by my favorite ever character actor, John Carroll Lynch, from Fargo and a lot of other things, a million other things. He looks dazed, his eyes heavy and his mouth hanging slightly open. The doctor's voice has become audible, but it's in German with English subtitles. The doctor says,
Mr. Krause, do you understand what I'm telling you?
Willie blinks himself to attention. No, I'm sorry. What was that last thing you said?
Inoperable, Mr. Krause. Look.
He holds up an x-ray of Villy's skull. We can see a tumor glowing bright white just above his left eye. The doctor tells him it's on his frontal lobe, about the size of a golf ball, too big to extract. They can try to slow things down with chemo, but he's looking at about 6 weeks to live, maximum. Villy still moves as if in slow motion, unable to process this news. My novel.
I'm sorry?
My novel. My first novel. I'm only, 3/4 through it? That's not enough time. The doctor sighs and speaks gently.
Yes, well, I would recommend letting that go, Mr. Krause. Spend this time with your family.
Hard cut to Villy slamming himself into his car. He sits behind the wheel, stunned and unmoving. Eventually, he sits up with a sharp inhale, like he just remembered he has to keep breathing. He taps the home button on his GPS and pulls out of the parking lot. We cut to an overhead shot of him driving home. Text comes up on the screen that reads Freiburg, Germany. Freiburg is a large town on the edge of the Black Forest. He lives in a rural area on the edge of town, so we follow him as he drives through increasingly dense tree cover. It's night, and everything is quiet and empty around him. Inside the car, he gets a phone call from his wife. He answers on the car speakers.
Hey, are you on your way home?
Yes, love. Just got done. I may be a bit late. There was a wreck on the 3 and I'm stuck in traffic. We can see that this is obviously not true. Silence hangs in the car for a moment before his wife says,
Well, what did the doctor say? Is everything all right?
Yes, totally fine. He said it's completely benign and they should be able to get it all in one go. Outpatient, even. His wife gives a relieved sigh that ends in a choked sob.
Oh my gosh, that's such a relief. Get home soon and we'll celebrate. I'll wrangle the kids and we'll all get dinner.
Villy smiles and a few silent tears fall from his eyes. It's a date. I love you, Leah.
I love you too, honey.
Tell the girls I love them too.
You can tell them yourself.
He hangs up and slowly pulls to a stop on the empty road. We can see on his GPS that he's very close to home. He just needs to take a left at the intersection he's at, and he'd be there in 5 minutes. He stares intently at the GPS screen, then cancels the directions and floors the car straight ahead. He zooms down the road at high speed, the trees getting more and more dense. As he does, he begins to sob, short bursts at first, then building to a terrified tantrum, rattling the wheel and yelling. He yanks the car off the main road onto a dirt offshoot that leads straight into the Black Forest. He floors the car even faster, unbuckles his seatbelt, and closes his eyes. I love you, Leah. I love you, Hannah. I love you, Lenny. He barely gets out the last name before he collides headfirst into a tree. He crashes through the windshield and his body flies through the air in slow motion, soaring past the trees and flying over the surface of a pitch-black lagoon. While he hovers, I want to describe this shot of the lagoon. He's far from civilization now, so it's perfectly dark out, the only light coming from the moon and stars shining brightly above. The lagoon is perfectly still, its surface bisecting the frame and creating a near-perfect reflection of the moon, the stars, and Villy's body. If it wasn't for the shore to the left edge of the screen, we might think that we had just created a split mirror image of the sky. Then, with an enormous splash, Villy crashes into the lagoon. We follow him underwater as he sinks, unconscious, but just for a moment. He wakes up underwater and panics, but finds that he can breathe. He looks down and sees that he's gotten turned upside down, and so the surface is below his feet. But before he can try to swim out, he sees the cave. Further out, in the middle of the lagoon, there's a small island, most of it dominated by a cave. But this cave seems to sit on the underside of the water's surface. It's right side up to him, but only because he's turned upside down. And in contrast to all the blackness around him, the cave is glowing with a bright orange-red light. He swims towards it, curious, the thought of his cancer knocked away from his mind. When he gets to the edge of the island, he somehow seamlessly transitions from swimming to walking, as if crossing over the island's threshold has removed the water and reversed gravity. He walks to the cave and enters cautiously. Inside, he finds that the light is coming from a pool in the ground about 10 feet wide. We look up at Villy from the perspective of the hole. He stands on the edge and stares down into it, and his eyes slowly widen. Faintly, we begin to hear screams, what sounds like thousands of them, growing slowly louder. We don't see whatever it is he sees. Villy breaks away and sprints for the exit, terrified. He leaves the cave entrance and runs over the island, just feet from the lagoon. But there's a small puddle of water on the ground outside the cave, just an inch or so deep. As Villy's sneakers run over it, a blue-green webbed hand, ridged and bumpy with algae, topped with thick 3-inch-long talons, reaches out of the puddle and grabs his ankle. Villy tumbles to the ground, and his forehead collides with a half-buried rock, exactly in the spot where his tumor is. He immediately starts bleeding and passes out. The last thing we see is his body being dragged backwards by his ankle, back into the cave, by an enormous shadowy creature, as the screams begin to swell once again. Title: The Black Lagoon.
I think that's a terrific opening.
I said it wasn't going to be depressing.
No, but I mean, I think, first of all, I think that this, having just watched Tigers Are Not Afraid this afternoon in preparation for this episode, I feel like this fits into the tone and mood of Issa Lopez's other film really, really, really well. I like how very, very visual this all is in terms of I think I like the way that you've created a very clear picture of what is going to make this place seem mysterious.
I hope so, because this is the most visual film I've done, and this is an audio medium, so I am a little worried that this might not translate well via podcast. So I hope everyone has fired up their mind palaces and their imagination stations, because this is going to take a lot of visualizing. But yes, the Black Lagoon,
I was careful to not interrupt there.
I want the Black Lagoon to be a very visually striking place, and there will be some other images that I hope resonate in your mind's eye.
I also appreciate the sort of mislead that happens here, because I don't know about you listeners, but when I think of this particular actor, John Carroll Lynch, if there was a human being whose head looked like it had the shape of the Gill-Man's head, I would say John Carroll Lynch would have that kind of shape. Like,
sure.
So for a minute, I was even thinking, are we about to get a surprising sort of
origin story?
Is the Gill-Man going to be a character who falls into this mysterious thing and is transformed, like Man-Thing, Solomon Grundy, Swamp Thing, whatever. And then once he gets down there, I like that we've established the title of the movie is The Black Lagoon, which sort of establishes is that it's about a magical place where the creature is from more than it's about the creature itself. And that is part of what makes this work. Because I am curious, I'm not wondering what is that monster. If I didn't know it was based on Creature from the Black Lagoon, I would think of that monster as an extension of this strange place.
Good. I'm very glad.
Yeah. So that's all coming through.
Love that.
Enough of my yammering. I don't have anything to eat. It would be weird if I had big complaints in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
We'd be off to a rough start.
It's happened, but there's usually narration involved.
Let's dive into Act 1 then. We come back from the title to the sound of some hip young pop song blasting from another room. We're in the living room of some enormous Florida McMansion, but the picture is flipped upside down. In the background, okay, this part would ideally be like subtle environmental storytelling, but there's no way to do that on a podcast. I have to just tell you what's happening.
Right. So instead, you're going to have to hammer home what the themes are going to be.
Unfortunately, ideally, this would be more like a Children of Men thing where it's just kind of quietly in the background and you kind of catch it, but don't know how it relates. But I have to be direct. In the background, a TV is playing a news story about Florida's governor signing a bill into law that would ban gender therapy for anyone under 18. I said it would be queer. There we go. That would ideally be more subtle than me just saying it. Two young girls, Kay and Millie Gill-Man, which I have to say, unfortunately, I think DreamWorks just announced a movie that's like Teenage Kraken or something.
Yeah.
And their main character is named something Gill-Man.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that yesterday.
It just came out, and I had already written them as the Gill-Man family.
Okay, I have to tell you, Dalton, I don't think I'd be wild about it being the Gill-Man family one way or the other.
For now, I'm keeping it the Gill-Mans. They're the Gill-Mans.
It feels a little bit at odds with the tone you've just set.
Well, but this is not our main characters, I want to say as well. Kay and Millie Gill-Man, who I have played by Anna Sophia Robb and Thomas and Mackenzie, because I think they look similar and would make great sisters. My only qualm here is they might be too old. I mean, Anna Sophia Robb seems like maybe she's way too old to be playing high school, but she still looks very young.
And what do I know her from again?
She was in the Young Carrie Diaries.
Oh, okay.
She was also in a movie I saw called Down a Dark Hall. She was a child actor, but now she does TV. She's in Dr. Death. She looks a lot like Thomas and Mackenzie, who was in
Thomas
Old
Mackenzie,
and Last Night in Soho. I like the idea of them playing sisters, but they might be too old. Who cares?
Yeah, for the purposes of our show, we're going to roll with it.
Yeah. So two young girls, Kay and Millie Millie Gill-Man come into frame, but again, everything's upside down. They're wearing bathing suits and Crocs, towels over their shoulders. They look into the camera. I forgot to warn people about this. This script does include some not very nice words about people. There are some mean words from mean characters. So
Right. And this
content warning for that.
Yeah, depiction is not endorsement.
Exactly. They're saying these words because they're bad people, and I shouldn't have to make that explicit, but I feel like I do.
Yeah, anyway,
so they come into frame. They're wearing bathing suits and Crocs, towels over their shoulders. They look into the camera.
Hey, Rita, retard, your mom's looking for you. Yeah, time for you to go.
They peer curiously into the camera.
Hey, what's wrong with you? Did you forget how to speak English or something?
The camera exits POV mode, and we see Margarita Marin, aka Rita, played by Madison Taylor Baez, standing trepidatiously in the middle of the room, looking like she's about to tip over. She takes a couple awkward steps forward, then sways, then pukes all over a very expensive zebra skin rug.
What do I know Madison Taylor Baez from?
You don't.
Okay.
She was in the Starz adaptation of Let the Right One In, the TV series adaptation. She is a 12-year-old Mexican actress. Unfortunately, that show was canceled, but I needed Margarita Marin, Rita, is our main character. Right. She is a 12-year-old Mexican girl. And so Madison Taylor Baez seemed like a good fit.
And she's available.
Yeah. So she takes a couple awkward steps forward, sways, and pukes all over a very expensive zebra skin rug.
Ah, gross. Mom, Rita puked on the zebra.
Rita falls backward onto her butt, and we flip to her POV again. She blinks a few times, and her vision turns right side up again, just as her mother, Gabrielle Marin, and Kay and Millie's mother, Julia Gill-Man, played by Emily DeRaven from Lost, Claire, run in the room. So a lot of characters just got introduced, so I just want to make things explicit, especially because I've been talking about casting. A lot of information has come at the listener all at once. We have two families here. The Gill-Mans are a rich white family consisting of Julia, Claire from Lost, and her high school daughters, Kay and Millie. We also have the Marins, a Mexican family consisting of Gabrielle and her 12-year-old daughter, Rita. Gabrielle is the cleaning lady for the Gill-Mans. Cool?
That's a silly note. We have a Gabrielle protagonist already in Jekyll and Hyde. Are we married to the name Gabrielle?
No. We're going to we can keep it for now.
Now, sure, yeah.
But yeah, we can change that.
Now I'm interrupting too often. We got to keep the show going.
For now, it's Gabrielle.
Okay. Dios mío, mommy. What is going on in here?
Oh no, not the zebra. It's clear Julia is starting to freak out, but is doing everything she can to not explode at her housekeeper's daughter.
I am so sorry, Miss Julia. I'll clean this up right away. I don't mind staying long. You go to the beach. We'll see you there.
Thank you, Gabby. Come on, girls. Grab your beach bags and get in the car. I hope you feel better, Margarita. Oh, Gabby, the passes are on the kitchen island. Remember, you need 2 passes for each of you, 1 for parking and 1 for the beach.
Yes, Miss Julia. Thank you so much.
The Gill-Mans head out to the beach. As they do, Kay lingers behind and grabs 2 of the passes left on the kitchen island and throws them in the trash. Once the Gill-Mans are gone, Gabrielle cleans up the mess and chastises Rita. She asks if she's still feeling well enough to go to the beach, and Rita says yes.
Was it something you ate, Mommy?
I was seeing everything upside down.
Well, we'll get you some food before we go. And you gotta drink more water. Oh, I know what'll cheer you up.
Gabby leaves and brings in a bag filled with clothes. She pulls out a bright red 2-piece bathing suit.
A new bathing suit for the beach. And not just that, but new dresses and shoes and skirts. All hand-me-downs from the twins that Miss Julia was kind enough to give you.
Rita frowns at the clothes. I like my bathing suit.
Rita, that bathing suit looks like a trash bag. Don't you want to fit in with the other girls?
I'd rather fit in with the other trash bags.
You're wearing the suit, Mommy. It would be rude not to. There must be $500 worth of clothes in there.
I'm not wearing it.
You are wearing it, Margarita. End of story. There's absolutely no way that I can say Mommy, M-A-M-I, with that's gonna sound.
We're not gonna do Mexican accents.
I'm not doing the accent.
Yeah.
No, that'll be where I draw the line.
They grab the passes and drive to the beach. Rita sulking in the passenger seat with an oversized t-shirt over the new bathing suit and aviator sunglasses too big for her face. They arrive at Whitestone Beach, the local quote-unquote public beach. I say that because the city council has it highly regulated. In order to use the beach, you have to prove you're a local resident by applying online with proof of identity and residency, and the guest pass system is expensive and impenetrable. This is a practice common in wealthy towns that want to keep undesirables, read minorities and poor people, away from public spaces. Gabrielle struggles with her enormous beach bag on their way to the entrance, where they're denied entry by the 60-year-old blonde woman manning the window. They only have the parking passes. They still need the beach passes. Gabrielle argues with the woman, saying they were told this was all they needed. This escalates with Gabrielle saying they live in this town, they should be able to go to the beach, which the woman answers by saying if she can produce the right documents, she can try to get her registered as a resident. Gabrielle sputters at this, trying to talk around the fact that she does not have the proper legal documentation. Rita stands nearby, trying to distance herself from this embarrassment, and looks past the kiosk to all the other kids having fun on the beach. As luck would have it, Julia notices Rita standing there and comes over. Julia straightens things out with the window lady and buys new guest passes for Gabby and Rita. On their way to the beach, Julia reprimands Gabby. I told you, Gabby, you needed both passes. I left them on the island for you.
I'm so sorry, Miss Julia. I thought I grabbed them.
Rita catches Kay and Millie staring at them from the beach, rolling their eyes and looking disappointed that they actually made it. Rita's smart enough to figure out what happened. Whitestone Beach. It's a beautiful summer day, and it seems like half the town has decided to take a beach day. I should note that the residents in attendance are nearly entirely white. Kay and Millie float on inflatable rafts, making eyes at a group of high school boys splashing each other nearby. Rita and her mom lounge in the middle of this sea of whiteness, her mom in a beach chair and Rita sitting on a towel, still wearing her oversized shirt, a grumpy expression on her face. Rita's mom tries to encourage her to have fun.
Hey, isn't that your friend Robbie from school? Why don't you go help him with his sandcastle?
Rita looks over at Robbie on his hands and knees in the sand and then looks down, dejected. He doesn't really talk to me anymore.
Oh no, what happened?
I don't know. Just doesn't. Gabrielle frowns and looks from Robbie to Robbie's father, Jason Danby, played by Josh Holloway, also from Lost, aka Sawyer. I've been watching a lot of Lost. Jason Danby is sitting a few yards up the beach from his son. Jason glances up from his phone and sees Gabrielle and does a double take. He's clearly not happy to see someone like her here.
Well, don't you at least want to go in the water? Maybe you'll make a new friend.
Rita sighs. Yeah, okay, I guess. She sets off for the water.
Hey, don't you want to take off your t-shirt?
Rita keeps walking. Julia, sitting nearby, watches this happen and looks at Gabrielle sympathetically. It's a tough age. Gabrielle smiles but looks embarrassed. Rita treads in the deep waters by herself, looking out at the horizon line, away from everyone on the beach. We look out from her POV. She blinks, and suddenly the image is upside down. She blinks again and it goes right side up, then twice more and it's upside down again, and this time stays that way. She's disoriented, trying to stay afloat even though the surface now looks like it's above her. She starts bobbing up and down, clearly afraid as she tries to stabilize. Then, something tugs her underwater. She comes up gasping and starts to yell out, but is pulled under again before she can say anything. She's pulled down and down by something unseen, and then tumbles underwater as she's released. We see her POV again, and then her thrashing as she tries to figure out which way is up. She starts swimming for what she thinks is the surface, but is actually down deeper. Up top, Kay Gill-Man surfaces next to her sister, and they both laugh, talking about how scared Rita looked and congratulating each other, until they realize she hasn't come back up. They look around, asking her name, then shouting it. Eventually, they start screaming.
Help! Somebody help! Rita? Rita!
Gabrielle stands up from her chair and runs towards the water, Julia hot on her heels. But the closest person in the water is Robbie, Rita's classmate, who springs into action. He dives under and finds Rita, dragging her unconscious body to the shore. His dad sees what's going on and runs to the commotion while a lifeguard administers CPR. Rita wakes up coughing and Gabrielle hugs her, while Jason grabs his son and pulls him back away from her side.
Hey, if your daughter can't swim, keep her out of the water. My boy could have died trying to save her.
Julia steps up to defend Gabrielle. Hey, ease off, buddy. She almost lost her child just now.
What the hell are they doing here anyway? Last I checked, this beach was only open to legal residents.
Gabrielle says, how dare you?
How dare I? You're the one that's trespassing.
Yeah, well, last time I checked, this beach was only open to people who could afford it.
Maybe you should stay out of this, Mom. Yeah, why don't you listen to your daughter, Princess? What, do these illegals work for you or something? Be ashamed if the police chief paid a visit to make sure your arrangement is above board.
Rita breaks through the bickering and runs back up the beach crying. Gabrielle chases after her.
Rita? Rita!
I want to go home.
No, baby, we're not doing that.
I want to go home now. Gabrielle kneels down and looks Rita in the eyes.
Look, baby, we can't leave now. We have every right to be here on this beach with everyone else.
Yeah, but I don't want to be with these people. And I don't understand why you do.
Rita, you always want to run away from every problem. That's not a solution.
Neither is forcing yourself to be nice to people that hate you. Gabrielle sighs.
Fine. Let's go.
Later that night, Rita boots up a video game console and puts on a headset. She's playing a game called Creature Academy, some kind of multiplayer game for teens where you design your own monster character to go to high school with other players' monsters. Rita's monster is a jockey wolfman wearing a Letterman jacket that looks pretty similar to Larry Talbot. She chats on the headset with her best friend, a boy she only knows through this video game. They call each other by their gamer tags. Rita's is Hunter Wolf 211, so he calls her Hunter.
Holy shit, you got the Scream Your Year Letterman already?
I had to grind for like 5 hours in the gym to get enough silver. It was insane. It was basically my whole weekend.
Worth it. Looks so cool on you.
In the background of the call, Rita hears a woman yelling, saying, "Philip, 15 minutes till dinner."
Okay, Mom.
Wait, Philip? Is that your real name?
Oh, yeah, Philip Varley. We've known each other so long, it's crazy that we've never said our real names.
Rita just says, "Yeah," and is quiet.
So, what's yours?
What's what?
Your real name, dumbass.
Oh, actually, Hunter is my real name.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Whoa, that rules. I wish I had a cool name like that. My parents had to name me something lame like Philip.
Rita changes the subject. Why do you guys eat dinner so late? It's like 10 o'clock.
I live in California, remember? It's only 7 here.
Oh, yeah. I always forget how far away you are. They play in silence for a moment before Philip says,
I'm so glad I met another boy who likes this game. All the guys at my school just want to play Fortnite all the time.
Yeah, same here. It's nice to finally talk to someone who gets it. That's when Rita's mom bursts in and tells her video game time is up for the night. Rita asks for 15 more minutes, but Gabrielle holds her ground, clearly still a little upset and maybe even resentful about their beach day.
Hey, are you talking to someone on there? What did I say about that?
No, Mom. Gabrielle snatches the headset off Rita's head.
I told you, it's dangerous to talk to strangers on there. You could be talking to a man pretending to be a little girl like you. You need to make friends here in the real world. Talk to people around you.
And then Rita is storming past her mother into the hallway.
Where are you going, young lady?
Outside. That's where you always tell me to be instead of playing video games.
Not right now. It's your bedtime.
But Rita has slammed the door. She hops on her Razor scooter and takes off down the driveway, her face bunched up with anger. We follow her as she zooms out of her subdivision, then turns away from the bright lights of downtown towards the darkness of the woods on the outskirts. She sees a pair of headlights approaching behind her. Worried that it's her mom, she dumps her scooter and runs into the woods. As she starts to run, her vision flips again, causing her to stagger her way forward clumsily. But eventually, she emerges out of the woods and her vision corrects itself, revealing the shores of a massive Black Lagoon. The lagoon is large enough that we can't see to the other side, but we can see that the forest continues densely all around the visible edges of it. Its surface is as still as a mirror, reflecting the thousands of pinpricks of stars and a large moon just beginning its wane. The sky is black, the water is black, the stars and moon are a brilliant white. The only flicker of color comes from way out in the water, a speck of orange just under the surface. It's also silent. No sounds of frogs in the forest, or owls hooting, or crickets chirping. Rita is awestruck. Whoa, where did this come from? She steps to the edge of the lagoon, slips off her shoes and socks, and submerges her feet. She shivers from the sudden warm sensation and smiles. She looks around to make sure nobody followed her, and then dives in, still in her clothes. She swims for a while, ecstatic in the freedom of this private beach. After a while, she dives to take a look under the surface. There are no fish, no creatures at all. Instead, the floor of the lagoon is a vehicle graveyard. There are cars from all eras of automobile history, bikes, prop planes, motorcycles, an entire trolley car, even a Victorian buggy sans horses. In between these vehicles, so dense that you can barely see the sand, there's guns, knives, loose change, watches, briefcases. Rita swims deeper to investigate these oddities more closely. She starts to swim up for air, but her clothes get caught on a jagged piece of metal. She panics, yanking at it, trying to break loose, and just as she thinks she's going to drown, she finds she can breathe. She takes a deep breath in and out. She's fine. She tries to speak, saying, "What the f..." But it's still all muffled by the water. She gets her clothes untangled and resurfaces, bewildered. Then she notices the orange glow. She's out far enough that she can make out the shape of the cave and the island now, which again exist only as a reflection, not on the surface of the water. Curious, she swims out to it until it seems to be floating just in front of her. She dives under, but there's nothing there. She comes up, and again the island seems to be just in front of her. Goes under, nothing. She surfaces again and looks around confused. Then a shadow passes in front of the flickering orange glow in the cave. She stares, transfixed, and with a big orchestral sting, the creature suddenly stands in the entrance of the cave, staring straight at her. He stands 8 feet tall, with slick green-gray flesh, thick and muscular. His hands and feet are webbed with long, razor-sharp talons. His shoulders slope up to meet his head, no neck, just gashes of gills and a downturned fish-like mouth. His eyes are bulbous, unblinking, and as black as the lagoon. Rita's eyes widen and she begins to swim away. She turns back at one point and the creature is gone from the entrance. She hits the shore, grabs her shoes, and runs back through the woods. After a few feet, she staggers as her vision flips again, and slowly, she makes her way back home.
I am really enjoying it feels very contemporary to take the Black Lagoon as an idea away from being sort of originally it's somewhere in Central America, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is like, oh, it's foreign and it's other. It's very much of the sort of mid-century American thing where, oh, we need something to be spooky. Let's make it foreign, right?
Yeah.
Where instead we've now made it a sort of, it feels very much a fit in the current sort of post Get Out scheme of horror, where it's where the Black Lagoon appears, at least to me at this point, to be more of an idea that can exist anywhere. Like it's sort of representing or summoned by a kind of despair.
Yeah,
I know you probably don't want to give away too much of what you're thinking.
I won't give away too much yet, but yeah, at first it was in Germany, now it's in Florida. You know, so we've definitely seen it be in different geographic locations.
Yes, I'm not going to jump ahead to talking about what these places might have in common. So far, I'm very intrigued by the way that this setting is made visually interesting, and the way you're conveying visually how its relationship with time and its relationship with space. Yeah, so far, I'm just mostly very intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the thing where I was thinking of the Black Lagoon. It was like, okay, well, where do I want to set it? Is it a Central America thing? And then we play with, you know, obviously that's got exoticism, context. So, you know, someone, I think one of our listeners had messaged us talking about wanting, you know, to make a creature thing that was like an ecological statement kind of thing, like an eco-socialism thing. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting, but I couldn't really find an angle on that interested me. And so I found kind of a more mystical, not exactly, but like a less physically grounded way of dealing with it that I think is a little bit more metaphorical, as we'll see as we kind of go into it. But a lot of the things of the reflections and the mirror aspect of it are very important. I will say that.
Yeah, and I think it's the kind of thing, the word iconic is overused, right? But when you make a movie like this, you want there to be a distinctive visual icon that represents your film, something that people can refer to and instantly identify, this is the movie we're talking about. And I feel like this has that kind of potential where I like the blinking to flip the upside down thing. I love the way we're using point of view. I think that's really cool. And, you know, so far my sort of nitpicks are all things that I think that have to do with the medium that we're experiencing.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there's probably a way that we could represent the blatant racism of Josh Holloway's character is probably not as unrealistic as we'd like to think. But it would probably be easier to convey all of that through simply like through
dirty looks,
through smaller gestures than with the need to do a dialogue. But of course, I'm the last person who's going to complain about that, considering how talky my stories are, and this is still a podcast.
It's continuing Act 1. We cut to a cramped doctor's office. I'm going to skim by the scene a bit, but it is important. Basically, Rita's mom has taken her to get checked out because of the upside-down vision and the near drowning. Their doctor is a kind woman who sees them for cheap, knowing they don't have insurance. And she's a bit baffled and says Rita is experiencing an incredibly rare form of spatial disorientation. Could be something genetic or potentially a sign of something more serious, like a brain tumor. She says they need to see a neurologist to be sure. Gabrielle's face falls. They can't afford that. She'll have to work on raising the money. Until then, the doctor says she'll try to rig together some makeshift glasses to help flip the image back for Rita. On the drive home, Rita doodles images of the creature she saw the night before, covering pages on pages of her notebook with him. When they get home, Rita runs to her room, then stops and frowns at the white dress her mother has hung up on her closet door. Gabrielle comes in.
Isn't it lovely? Why don't you try it on?
Rita shoves her notebooks in her backpack and gets ready to leave. I don't want to get it dirty.
What do you mean?
Rita pushes her way out of the room. I'm going to play outside.
Mommy, what about your vision? You should take it easy.
I'll be fine. I'll just be in the neighborhood.
Be careful, okay? Come check in soon.
Rita hops on her scooter and scoots away down the street on a mission. But she gets sidetracked when she passes by the Danby residence, home to mean dad Jason and her former friend Robbie. Robbie is mowing the front lawn, sweating and pushing a lawnmower as big as he is. Rita stops and yells his name. Robbie pretends not to hear. Rita gets frustrated and stomps onto the lawn, making her stand directly in front of the mower. Robbie lets his hand off the shutoff lever.
Hey, what are you doing, you maniac?
I was yelling your name for like 10 minutes, dummy.
Okay, so what do you want?
Rita hesitates. I just wanted to say thanks for saving me yesterday. Robbie can't make eye contact.
You okay?
Yeah. There's something wrong with my eyes, I guess. Doctor said I can't swim for a while.
I really got to finish my chores.
Robbie goes to start the mower again, but Rita puts her foot on the front of it and he stops. What about the Monster Squad?
What?
Our club. You said you were going to start it with me this summer, and your dad was going to make us a treehouse, and you were going to be a vampire, and I was going to be the wolf man. But didn't you stop talking to me? Rita is starting to get a little teary-eyed. Robbie still can't look at her.
My dad just has me doing a lot of chores this summer.
I can wait.
I mean, but also, I don't even really like monsters anymore anyway.
You promised, Robbie. You promised we'd be a club together.
I think you should find someone else to start a club with.
Rita takes her foot off the mower, tears filling her eyes. She stomps back away to her scooter. Robbie calls after her.
Rita?
She turns on her heels, furious and staring daggers at him. What?
You're welcome for saving you.
Do your chores, Robbie. She scoots off, and we follow her back to the spot of road where she had walked through the woods to the Black Lagoon. She wanders through the trees and finds that the lagoon seems to be gone. It's just the woods she's always known. She treks through the trees with her fists on her backpack straps when there's the sudden sound of a gunshot and an explosion of bark from the tree in front of her. She stops where she is, frozen, until a sudden flurry of gunshots makes her scream.
Hold fire, boys! Hold your fire!
Her vision flips upside down, and through her POV, we see about 10 men stand up from camouflage cover about 50 yards away, all of them armed with semi-automatic rifles. They're dressed in camo jackets with Pride of Collington Citizen Militia emblazoned on the breast. One of them runs over to her, his hand in the air in a ceasefire gesture. This is Mark, played by character actor Clancy Brown.
Yes!
Love Clancy Brown.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't wait to hurt myself doing Clancy Brown.
He's the head of the militia.
Whoa, 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 little lady. Are you okay? Did anything hurt you?
She shakes her head, and Mark lets out a relieved laugh.
Well, gosh, what are you doing way out here? This is militia land, honey, and it's not a safe place for a girl like you.
He begins to guide her back to where he came from. We can start to see the signs of a makeshift training site. Tents, a climbing wall, one of those nets over the ground that you crawl under, and lots of guns. As we pass rows of trees, we see targets pinned to them. They're shaped like rioters and looters with bandanas and Molotov cocktails, or their fists raised in black power gestures. The men all have Blue Lives Matter patches on their cargo pants, and an enormous American flag flies in the center of the camp. Rita is quiet, still a bit in shock, and not wanting to say the wrong thing in front of these people.
Maybe you've played out here in summers past, but this woods is ours now. You'd do good to find another place to play, okay? Now, why don't I give you a ride back to your parents?
Just then, Rita notices one of the men walking over to join them. It's Jason Danby, Robbie's father, decked out in the same militia jacket, a rifle slung over his shoulder. My, if it isn't the little Marin girl. Bit early for a margarita, isn't it, Mark?
You know her, Jason?
Sure do. Little Rita here used to be pals with my Robbie. It's a shame when people grow out of their friendships, isn't it? Rita is still silent. Why don't I drive her back, Mark? I've been meaning to have a chat with her mother anyway. We had a little dust-up at the beach yesterday, and I figure we should hash things out before things between our families escalate and the police get involved. We wouldn't want that now, would we, Rita? We wouldn't want the cops asking Mommy for her papers. And now Rita is running. Jason calls after her, but she's sprinting away from him through the woods, disoriented by her vision and hitting her shoulders on trees. She's running towards a clearing ahead, but just before she gets there, roar! A wolf head springs up in front of her and she screams and falls back on her butt. She shields her face, then looks up and sees a man, dressed in a wolf head and skins, looking down at her curiously. His name is Nestor Lucas, played by Titus Welliver.
I forget he was on Lost.
He was on Lost,
Okay.
season 6. I guess he's more known for Bosch.
Yeah,
and I
he's
don't
the
know,
lead of Bosch.
I don't know anything about Bosch, and if Bosch ruins this casting, then I can recast, but I like
No,
Titus
you can't
Welliver.
recast, and I'll tell you why. He's done a Star Trek.
Okay, then we've got Titus Welliver, Star Trek cast member.
Finally, for the first time ever, we've added someone who's done a Star Trek, and it wasn't me.
His name is Nestor Lucas. He apologizes profusely and helps her to her feet, saying he thought she was someone else. He offers her some water and tells her these woods aren't safe, that they've been taken over by some insane gun nuts. He asks what she's doing out here, and she says, I'm looking for a big lake with a glowing island in the middle. Nestor's jaw falls open.
You've seen the Black Lagoon?
Before she can answer, they hear footsteps rustling through the woods. Nestor tells her to run home and that he'll distract them. She runs off, but hides nearby to watch their interaction. Mark and Jason emerge, backed up by a few other militia members. They get into an argument with Nestor, briefly about Rita, but then more about the clearing that Nestor seems to be guarding. It seems the militia wants it to expand their training camp, but Nestor won't let them have it. Sounds like maybe a few militia members have even ended up injured by traps Nestor has laid around it. Jason says if he doesn't give up the land soon, they'll have to take it from him. Nestor says over his dead body. Rita looks over to the clearing, but can't make out anything past the trees, except for a lone stump way out in the field. She slips off back home undetected. Later that night, she says goodnight to her mother, then boots up her game system under her sheets and starts a secret session with Philip. She's decided to abandon her Wolfman character and start a new one, a fish creature. Philip is incredulous that she would just give up all her loot to start fresh, especially after just getting that Letterman jacket, but Rita's determined. She says she just doesn't feel like a werewolf anymore. Eventually, Philip logs off, and Rita sits there staring at her monster creation. She gets up and tiptoes into the hall, makes sure her mother is fast asleep, and then slips out into the night. She scoots back to the woods, but this time when she goes in, the lagoon is there. She eagerly takes her shoes off and slides into the water, submerging herself and breathing easily. She swims out deeper, just under the surface of the water, and just above her, like a reflection on the other side, the creature swims in sync. She catches a glimpse of him over her shoulder and she recoils. He comes to a stop with her. They stare at each other from opposite sides of the surface, bringing their faces up to each other. Rita is awestruck by the majesty of the grotesque, surly beast. She reaches her small hand up to the surface and is matched by his large, webbed one. But before they can touch, the creature swims away, towards the center of the lagoon. Rita gives chase, and the two of them swim together, reflections of each other, in a beautiful underwater dance, separated by the lagoon's surface. Rita is ecstatic, swimming effortlessly with joy and confidence. She closes her eyes for a moment, and when she opens them, the creature is gone. She comes up to the surface and finds that once again, she's mere feet in front of the reflection of the island that she can't seem to get to. She sees a brief shadow of the creature as he enters the cave. She dives under again, and this time flips herself around so she's upside down, with the surface below her feet like a floor. And that's when the island materializes before her, resting on the membrane between the lagoon and the sky. She swims toward it, and seamlessly transitions to walking as she crosses the island's threshold. The creature appears in the mouth of the cave, and the two of them stand facing each other. For the first time, Rita is frightened. The creature sees this and extends a hand. She cautiously takes it, and he leads her slowly into the cave. The creature gives her a tour. There's a little cavern with a floor of wet seaweed that serves as his home, and then beyond that, the source of the glow. He guides her over to it. They stand on the edge of the hole in the ground, the creature's arm around her shoulder. She looks down into the flickering glow, and her eyes widen as we begin to hear the screams. She breaks from his grip and backs away. The creature whips around and tries to grab her wrist, but she manages to slip through. No, I'm sorry, I can't. The creature advances on her, his hand out, trying to lead her back, but she keeps backing away. I have to go home now. My mom will be worried. The creature starts to hiss in brief spurts, and little bits of webbing flare up from his body when he does. Rita shakes her head, still apologizing, and then turns and runs. The creature opens his mouth and roars, and as he does, long webbed spines flare out from his back, arms, and legs. His mouth is full of rows of needle-like teeth that wave front to back in ripples, like they're pushing food or air down into his throat. Rita dives into the air at the edge of the island and begins to swim, rotating herself around so she can surface again. She swims for her life, gasping for air. Behind her, we can see the webbed spine of the creature surface like a shark's fin, gaining on her. She makes it to the shore and keeps running, deep into the woods, not looking back until she gets to her scooter waiting for her on the curb. End of Act 1. Act 1 is the longest one. That's a long trek, but...
Hey, I'm
a lot to establish.
Yes, there is. And you know what? I think what's really interesting, for one, I want to acknowledge that this is, I think, by far our least plot-driven story so far. In that we are at the end of Act 1. I feel like I have a sense of the characters, and I have a sense of the mood, and sort of the stakes, but I don't really know what's going on, right?
There's a lot of threads.
There's a lot of threads happening, and I'm at a place right now where I'm thinking about where I'm kind of like developing ideas in my head about what the lagoon represents and what the creature represents, but not with a level of confidence that I'd want to talk about it. More of the idea, I kind of just want to let it continue, right?
I think that's the hook of Act 1 is I want the instead of it being plot driven, it's sort of mystery driven. It's
Yes.
What is the lagoon? What is this creature? Why can she go there? Who is this guy in the woods? And then we've also got sort of these plot threads of the people around her, whether it's the Gill-Mans that her mom house keeps for, her friend Robbie, who doesn't want to talk to her anymore, her like his racist militia dad, you know, the guy she's talking to on the video game who thinks she's a boy named Hunter.
Right. And then we have this sort of extra angle of, and I think, as I understand it, a fairly common way that people start to kind of explore their gender identity in the modern day is through video game avatars. And so that rings very true to me. And I do have to acknowledge that it's very cute that there's sort of a little nod to our Wolfman there.
Yes, we got a little Larry Talbot
that
avatar,
little love for Larry. I am intrigued, and I like how much of this storytelling is being done wordlessly. I'm never good at that, and I do like your new reinterpretation of that underwater dance that you wanted to do. It is different from what is in the original creature. It's kind of different from the way it's reinterpreted in The Shape of Water, and I don't know fully what to make of our creature yet, other than the idea of that it's certainly not the antagonist of the film. There's a level of understanding that's trying to be reached, and there's something about dread and something about fear, and I'm just kind of looking for it to it's got its hooks in, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes.
This is the first script where I'm dealing with a lot of, I think, complex themes and ideas that I think I feel like I do a better job of showing than telling. You know, like there's not going to be a part where Rita like says, "I think I'm transgender." You know, like it's all just going to be because she doesn't know that. She's growing up in a southern town. She's 12 years old. She has, you know, like
right, and part of the whole thing behind the regressive policies in Florida, it's not going to make fewer trans people. It's just going to make fewer out trans people.
Well,
because
yeah,
it's trying to deny people the context with which to understand themselves.
She's 12. She doesn't know any other trans people or have any of the language for this, and so and like I think a lot of the stuff with the lagoon is me sort of showing the themes of the movie without telling you what they are, and I think that will develop more as we see more of the lagoon and more things that are going on. But I think this film leaves a lot open for interpretation, which is something I'm very happy with. This is kind of a tangent, but there is a movie that I don't remember the name of. I watched it decades ago. It's about like the art scene, and it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek comedy. But there is one part where a character asks an artist, says, "Well, what's the difference between pop and art?" And the person says, "Well, pop culture has never asked a question it didn't already have the answer to." And I kind of actually like that definition.
That's great, actually.
That like,
and if you can identify that film, please reach us at Dark Universe Pod on Twitter or Instagram.
I can look it up after this. But I really kind of like that definition that like, I think this is a movie where I am not trying to deliver a message about anything. I think I am exploring some complicated ideas in the setting of a monster movie. Like, I don't think this is like the Babadook where it's like, and the monster represents the antagonism she has towards her child and her grief, you know, like I think the creature for me actually represents like 3 or 4 different things that at different points that I think all kind of intersect, a kind of a Venn diagram of themes that intersect in a sloppy way the way they do in real life. And I think that's what I really like about this pitch. And I hope this comes across again in the audio medium, but I think there's a lot you could take apart here and find different interpretations of that would probably all be correct. And you could see different sides of yourself. Not that I'm saying I created a work of art here.
No,
this
but
is a monster
I know what
movie,
you're saying, and I don't want us to keep rambling for long enough that you end up kind of forcing yourself to take the magic out of it and over-explain what you're talking about. Right. So I think that the thing to do now would be to move on to Act 2, allow the story to unfold, and leave a little bit of the meat on the bone for the listener.
Yes, and we'll be able to talk about more plot development stuff as we go because things will start to get revealed.
But it's a different kind of conversation than we have normally because you're deliberately not trying to create a question that you have an answer to.
Yeah. So, Act 2. The next morning, Rita awakens with a jolt. She gets up and digs through her backpack for her notebook, tearing out all of her doodles of the creature and throwing them in the trash. Then she pulls out her game console and deletes her new character, reverting to a previous save with her Wolfman instead. She puts it down and sighs, finally calming down, and then lays her eyes on the white dress hanging on the closet. Her mom bursts in a minute later to find her wearing the dress and adjusting it in the mirror.
Rita, hurry up and brush your teeth. We have to stop at the doctor before... Oh my gosh, Mommy, you look so pretty on you.
Rita smiles awkwardly at herself in the mirror and twirls a bit. Her mom gives her a hug and tells her again to get ready. Cut to Rita in the bathroom. She's looking at herself, unrecognizable, trying to decide if she likes what she sees. She's so distracted, she doesn't notice that the water pouring over her toothbrush in the sink is pitch black and thick. She puts the toothbrush in her mouth, and in moments her mouth is foaming with bubbling black gunk. She yells and spits a glob of it into the sink, and we can see tiny little organisms like gray tadpoles wriggling in the edges of it, along with small chunks of seaweed. Ugh. She flushes it down the sink and rinses her mouth out just before her mother bursts in. Her mother assumes the yelp was because her vision was flipping again, and Rita doesn't argue. Gabrielle reassures her that they're going to stop by the doctor before they go to the Gill-Mans to get something to fix it. Cut to Rita sitting on the couch at the Gill-Mans in her pretty white dress and an enormous pair of makeshift glasses with bulbous, curving lenses that flip her eyes upside down in the frames. She sits uncomfortably by herself, listening to Kay and Millie gossiping in the next room as they scroll through TikTok. Rita doesn't have a phone, but eventually she gets up and walks trepidatiously into the room with them.
What's up, Rita? Did you puke yourself again?
No. I was wondering what you guys were talking about. They look at her skeptically for a minute. Then Millie says,
This hot guy Bobby at school made a video complaining about stuck-up girls, and we think he's talking about Kay.
That's so mean.
No, it's good. He wouldn't make it if he didn't like her. Come here, I'll show you.
Rita goes over and sits on the couch with them, gathered around the phone.
Like, look how upset he is. Do you think he'd be that sad if he didn't have a crush?
I guess not.
Oh my God, stop it, you guys. He does not. Does he? Do you really think so?
Rita decides to be brave and grins. He's definitely crushing. They continue on like this, laughing and swiping. Rita's mom passes by the room, vacuuming, and her face lights up to see Rita getting along with the twins. She moves on, and we focus back on the girls. Millie asks Rita if there are any boys she has her eye on.
Millie, oh my God, don't ask her that. She's a lesbo. What? You're not a lesbian, are you?
Rita looks like she doesn't really know what that is, but can tell it's something bad. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so who's the guy?
His name is Hunter.
Hunter? Is that a name?
Yeah, lots of guys have it.
I'll look him up on Instagram. Give me that. Hey!
They fumble over the phone and it pops out of their hands and goes sliding across the carpet. Rita volunteers to grab it, but when she stands up, there's a dark splotch on the back of her white dress.
Oh my God. Did you just period on the fucking couch?
Rita looks around confused, not sure what they're talking about. Then she sees the spot on the couch and twists her dress around to see the stain.
Can you not make a total mess of our house for like 2 seconds, you weirdo?
Rita can't speak. She just runs to the bathroom while the twins gag behind her. She grabs a washcloth and runs it under the tap. When she goes to wipe away the blood, she finds that it's not blood anymore. That black gunk, thick as molasses, is bubbling and crawling down her legs. Her inner thighs are coated with the stuff, her dress soaked in black from the waist down. Tiny worms flee from the mess, and when she tries to blot it with the washcloth, a long strand of wet seaweed unfurls from under her. She wipes and wipes, but it's pouring too fast now, pooling on the floor. She turns and reaches past the shower curtain to turn on the shower. When she throws the curtain back, the creature is standing there, looming over her in a pool of reflective black water. She screams and falls backward just as her mom bursts in. Of course, the creature is gone, as is the black gunk. Gabrielle just finds her daughter curled up on the floor, sobbing with a dark stain on her dress. Gabrielle goes down to comfort her, holding her close and telling her it's okay. It happens to every young woman. But Rita is inconsolable, having a full-blown panic attack. Cut to them in the car, Rita sitting hollow-eyed in the passenger seat with an oversized t-shirt on instead of the dress. They drive past the woods, and Rita swears she can see an orange glow coming from somewhere out there. She spends the rest of the day curled under the covers. We'll take some time to do some more character building here, maybe with some tender scenes of her mother caring for her and more of her gaming with Philip. That night, she dreams she's back in the lagoon. She's swimming, but this time she's the one above the surface, looking down at herself swimming below. She looks down and sees webbing growing between her fingers and scales crawling their way up her arms. She flails, trying to shake them off, but stops when she hears someone yell, "Help!" She looks up to see the island way in the distance. Robbie stands in the entrance of the cave, backlit by the orange glow. He yells for her just as an enormous shadow appears behind him. She swims to him and they embrace. But then Rita's face goes blank and she pushes him backwards into the glowing hole as he screams. The next morning, her mom says she can stay home while she goes to the Gill-Mans as long as she promises to stay in bed and rest. At first, it looks like Rita is going to obey, but once her mom is gone, she heads out on her scooter back to the woods to get some answers. This time she avoids the militia and heads straight to the spot where she ran into Nestor in his wolf costume. She approaches quietly and spies on him while he sits by a campfire at the edge of the mysterious clearing, warming up some coffee. Maybe around this point she hatches a plan to distract him or just sneaks around to the other side of the clearing. She knows he's laid traps around it, so she carefully avoids them and enters the clearing by herself, which lies exactly where the Black Lagoon should be. The clearing is as big as the lagoon and looks like it's been flattened with an enormous lathe. The grass, roots, tree trunks, everything is clipped at the exact same height, extremely close to the ground. The soil everywhere is muddy and wet, despite there not having been any recent rain. Rivers of mud crisscross their way through the grass, creating intricate patterns of concentric circles that all coalesce around a single massive tree trunk in the center of the clearing, which stands 2 feet higher than anything else. Rita mucks her way through the mud towards the stump, avoiding the river so she doesn't mess up the pattern. In the middle of the stump, there's a small wet sack made of some kind of greenish, organic, translucent membrane. More of the little black tadpole worms swim their way around its edges. Through the membrane, we can see that the sack is full of little black eggs the size of marbles. Rita stares at it intently and reaches out a hand to touch it. That's when Nestor cocks his rifle and says calmly,
"Don't do it, kid."
Rita turns to see Nestor standing a few yards away, dressed in a ratty t-shirt and jeans, aiming his rifle at her. She puts her hands up and looks down at the ground, hastily muttering an apology. Nestor tells her to move towards him, but emphasizes that she cannot step on any of the mud lines in the ground. She takes a step and then wobbles. Nestor yells and she cries out, "I need to put my glasses on!" Nestor lowers the rifle and softens as she takes out her giant glasses and puts them over her tiny face. When she gets to him, he picks her up and slings her over his shoulder and lugs her back to his camp. We cut to them sitting quietly next to Nestor's tent, Nestor sipping his coffee and Rita munching a protein bar he gave her, still in her glasses. They're both studying each other. They ask each other a question at the same time.
What are you doing
really
here?
Gonna shoot me?
No, the gun's not loaded. I'm not like those militia meatheads out there. I was just doing my job.
What is your job?
To make sure nobody touches anything in that clearing.
Why?
It would be very dangerous for everybody.
It would let the creature out, wouldn't it? Nestor looks at her quizzically.
What's your name?
Hunter. This makes Nestor smile, and he extends his hand for a shake.
Okay, Hunter. I'm Nestor. Nestor Lucas. Why don't you tell me what you saw out there?
Rita tells him an abbreviated version of events, of her running away from home and wandering into the lagoon, of her swim with the creature and him showing her the pit. She tells him that now the lagoon seems to be following her wherever she goes. Nestor begins to look weary.
I was in the military. Gulf War, Afghanistan. You're too young to know about all that. The point is, I joined the Army because I wanted to finally find a place where I belonged, but instead, it just highlighted how different I was. One night, me and my bunkmate were up late playing cards, and there was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding that turned the whole squad against me. They attacked me, threatened me, told me if I ever did something like that again, they'd make it look like the enemy did it. I got away somehow, wandered out into the desert, and that was the first time I saw the Black Lagoon.
What is it? The lagoon.
It's a membrane, the place where the barrier between life and death is thinnest. It's not tied to any earthly geography, so its location changes constantly.
He can tell that Rita is confused by this explanation.
Normally, everyone on the planet dies the same death, passing seamlessly from one plane to another to whatever awaits them on the other side. But if that clearing shows up in your town, then you pass through the lagoon.
What about the creature?
He's the ferryman. His job is to make sure that anyone who washes up in the lagoon makes it down that pit to the other side.
So how did you get away?
Well, the lagoon is a special place. Like I said, it's where the line between life and death is the most fine, which means it's also open to those who walk that line, as I did that night in Afghanistan.
So how come I can go there? Nestor frowns, looking concerned. He meets her eyes and asks softly,
I don't know, Hunter. Why can't you?
Rita sits in silence for a moment before suddenly climbing to her feet. I have to go. Nestor calls after her.
Wait, Hunter!
She pauses.
Don't go back to the lagoon. The ferryman, his job is a lonely one. But if you decide to stay with him, there's no coming back out.
Rita slowly walks her scooter home as the sun sets, digesting everything Nestor said. Once again, she passes by Robbie's place and sees him sitting on his porch swing, holding an ice pack to his face. She stops and calls to him. Hey, what's wrong?
Go away. I don't want to talk to you.
As he yells, he pulls back the ice pack and Rita can see that his eye is swollen shut. She runs up to him on the porch. Robbie? What happened?
I said go away.
Robbie stands up and backs away, casting an anxious look toward the house's front window. Rita pursues him, trying to get a look at the damage. Did he do this? Again?
I said get off, you dyke.
As he says this, Robbie swings his fist and hits Rita clumsily under her ear, where her jaw meets her neck. She falls sideways into the swing, and then Robbie is on top of her, holding her shoulder to the swing seat while he deals blows to her with the other.
I said I don't want to be friends anymore. You bitch, you weirdo, you boy girl. I said stay away.
Rita is crying and screeching for help on the swing. Robbie starts to sob and backs away, realizing what he's done. Neighbors are coming out of their houses to see what's going on. Robbie starts to apologize and grabs her by the arms to help her up to standing.
I'm sorry, Rita. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Just then, his dad, Jason, throws open the front door, shirtless and holding a can of beer.
Robbie, what the fuck are you?
He sees his son holding Rita and crying. His eyes narrow and he looks right at Rita.
Get the hell off my property.
They both sputter, trying to explain what happened.
Now, before I kill you and your illegal mama.
Rita runs, rushing home as the sun sets on her scooter with her nose and lip bleeding, tears running down her face and the oversized glasses on. When she gets home, her mother is a nervous wreck and helps comfort her and clean her up. She draws her a bubble bath and Rita, still sniveling, crawls in. Her mother closes the door and lets her relax. Rita squeezes her eyes shut and wraps her arms around herself, still sniffing and trying to shut out her fear. But of course, as her eyes are shut, the water running from the faucet goes black and thickens, and the bubbles are slowly eaten away by a thick layer of yellow-green algae. Tendrils of wet seaweed begin to snake their way up the sides of the tub. Rita takes a handful of water from the tub, not realizing it's almost all algae, and splashes it onto her face. She opens her eyes at the unfamiliar sensation, and immediately all of the seaweed strands wrap their way around her arms, legs, and mouth and yank her down into the tub, deep, far deeper than they should be able. We cut to her at the bottom of the Black Lagoon, tied to the sandy floor with seaweed, surrounded by cars and coffins. Up above her, she can see the island floating upside down and a pair of legs swimming at the surface. The figure dives under. It's Robbie. She tries to scream, but the seaweed is still covering her mouth. A shadow appears in the mouth of the cave and the creature emerges. We cut to Robbie swimming under the water, realizing he can breathe. He turns just in time to see the enormous creature speeding towards him, his roar impossibly loud. The creature grabs Robbie by the ankle and yanks him back, and as he does so, we cut to somewhere else. A lamplit living room, where Robbie is also being grabbed by the ankle, but by a human hand. Robbie screams and falls hard to the floor as we cut back to the lagoon. Robbie is dragged screaming back to the island. The creature dumps him on the beach and stands looking over him. Robbie looks up, cowering in terror with his hands in front of his face.
No, please, please.
The creature raises one webbed hand and brings it down hard and fast. Before it makes impact, we cut to that living room, where a human hand strikes Robbie across the face hard enough to send him back to the floor.
No, stop.
The creature strikes again, and again we cross-cut. Rita watches this all from her place at the bottom of the lagoon. Robbie's face is bruised and bloody, his black eyes split open again. He tries to crawl away, but the creature grabs him, again with a cross-cut to the real world. Before the creature's final blow, Robbie yells,
"Stop it, Dad, stop!"
And then Rita sees him go limp. The creature drags him into the cave, and as he disappears through its threshold, the vines begin pulling Rita down into the earth at the bottom of the lagoon. She thrashes and screams as the sand consumes her, and then her mother is pulling her out from under the surface of the tub, Rita coughing up water and gasping for air. Her mother holds her and asks, what was she doing? Was she trying to kill herself? Rita just coughs and cries. And this is a good place for a break, as we're over halfway through, but this is partway through Act 2.
All right, well, let's throw to a commercial, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little chat about what we've just experienced here in the Black Lagoon. We'll be right back after this message from one of our other favorite podcasts.
Spaceships,
Magic swords,
intergalactic empires,
dead gods,
and creatures from beyond the moon.
What mad universe could contain all these fantastic visions?
What Mad Universe is a bi-weekly podcast
Delving into the misty origins of sci-fi and fantasy, pop culture and genre tropes.
Take a cosmic trip on What Mad Universe podcast, now on the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, where I have just killed another child and also revealed the in-universe lore for the Black Lagoon. I did do some explaining.
Right. I want to talk a little bit about that because I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay.
I was really curious about the nature of the Black Lagoon and what it means and what the Gill-Man means. And then I felt like I got too much of it explained to me too quickly.
Okay.
That I feel like what I had time to kind of construct in my head, and especially the way that we talked about the ambiguity that you wanted to build into it, that I now have a literal explanation for it all of a sudden from this character explaining it in a way where I understand this would potentially complicate things further, but I don't feel like I know how Titus Welliver's character knows all of this.
We haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay. And just having it explained to the character is, I think, potentially, I think maybe this information might be better off parsed throughout a longer stretch of the film.
Probably could. I mean, Act 2, especially with Act 1 so long, like Act 2 probably has to be condensed. I would probably want more, building more of the relationship with her and Nestor a little bit more slowly, but kind of condense some things. But also what I kind of wanted to do here is I wanted to make sure that if I'm doing a lore dump, it's in a way that actually raises the stakes. And I hope that it accomplished that because the question, while it answers a lot of the sort of material questions at hand, like what is this place? I feel like it raises some of the more thematic questions like, why is Rita able to go there? You know, I don't want to play my hand too much, but because this will never be explicitly explained, that's kind of the last we're ever going to hear about it. But the implication is if you are both a queer child and undocumented immigrant growing up in Florida, you're living on death's door, that your safety is not guaranteed and your life is not guaranteed, that you are basically on borrowed time and we hope that you make it, but the factors are working against you.
Right.
And I think the whole... The plot of the movie is sort of the noose tightening around Rita.
And the way that's sort of scares her towards conformity, scares her towards searching for answers, scares her in all different directions.
And so it allows her to walk in the Black Lagoon where everyone else goes to die. She's able to just pass there, and the creature is able to see something familiar in her, you know, like, and also it begs the question that if she goes there and she stays there, that's death. That is permanent. That is, you know, this is a place that means business.
And I understand that also, and sort of the way it's contextualized for us in the introduction of the concept with Villy, is that there's a sort of a way in which it is to surrender to the creature in the Black Lagoon is to surrender to despair, right? Is to see that you are contending with the constant threat of death and then you let it win. I think what would make this work for me a little bit better would be if we swap the order of events a little bit and that Rita doesn't get all of this information about what the Black Lagoon is until she and thus the audience have gotten a little bit more information firsthand to kind of get there.
I like that.
Because I think if she's in the Black Lagoon and she sees the murder of Robbie and she sees how that's represented in there, that will get her halfway to, is this some sort of way station between life and death? And then the reveal from Nestor won't feel as much like an info dump as explanation
of what we just saw,
of information that we have. Because I think that the way it is right now, I get answers before I'm curious. And I think that the most satisfying answers in a mystery are when the narrative is only one step ahead of you rather than 3 or 4.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good idea. I needed to kill Robbie because I needed us to show the danger of the creature and the danger of the Black Lagoon. And so I think maybe the only reason I did it was because I wasn't sure if the cross-cutting to Robbie's father beating him as the creature beats him might be a little too weird without an explanation first. But if you're saying you think it would actually work better the opposite way, I'm fine with that.
I think that you have been gradually peeling back layers of this thing and clarifying it on a purely visual and thematic level. And I think to have something really important happen there that has clear consequences in the real world, consequences that Rita can witness and know, okay, this is real, this is what's happening. Something I've witnessed in this space is now reverberating into the world that everyone else knows. I think that raises the urgency, makes the answers she gets from Nestor more important.
I agree. Yeah. I think, my thought was, oh, well, she's been having these visions. She had like the period thing happen, and so she's desperate for answers from that. But I do think it does make more sense. Like, I think that would actually make her hide more. But then once her friend Robbie is actually killed and she watches it happen, she'd be like, oh, I have to do something. Maybe that weird guy in the woods knows something.
I think then she should seek out Nestor.
Yeah, so that should be reversed. Cool. I agree with that.
Honestly, the thought that I had when we went into the section where Nestor was explaining it, because up to that point, one of the things I kept thinking is, I would never read anything like this. This is so different from what I would do. And then when Nestor goes into the info dump, I'm like, nah, see, that's something that I would do. Derogatory. I don't want to see you tripping into the mistakes that I would make. And I think that if you traded that up, I think it would be more in the rhythm that you've been operating.
Right. I don't love doing a lore dump either, but eventually I had to answer some questions, and I think Nestor is a good way to do it. And again, I wanted to raise actually more questions that are not plot related, but theme related. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, the plot answers are answered, and now I can start thinking about what it means, but I think that works better, like you said, after Robbie dies.
I want action to set those stakes, and then for the dialogue to clarify them.
Okay.
I do immediately have the wheels turning as to how this liminal space between life and death can tie into our larger narrative of the Dark Universe, but it's also not intruding into this at all. Mm-hmm. So that's good. We're being additive.
Yeah, we can talk about that more at the end, because we can talk about the franchise aspect of it more once we get through to the other side.
All right. Well, then let's continue. Let's finish out Act 2.
Yes.
The show's too long.
We've got a shorter end of Act 2 here, and then the climax. And let's go into Act 2, Part 2. So I will say that this next bit is also where I'm most unclear on exactly what happens in what order. And because we're running long, I'm just going to kind of summarize the character bits that need to happen.
Okay.
Although some of them, like I said, are kind of big. There's kind of a big yada, yada, yada here that I would really need to figure out. But at this point, Rita is like about to hit her breaking point, right? Like I said, we've kind of been tightening the noose around her from all directions. Mm-hmm. It's deliberately left up to interpretation whether the last scene was purely a supernatural act by the Black Lagoon, or whether Rita actually did attempt to drown herself in the tub. Because again, it is dangerous to be in her position. In any case, her mood is much darker and more hopeless than before. She's no longer trying to fit in by wearing the girl clothes. And in fact, there may even be a sequence where she throws all of Kay and Millie's hand-me-downs away or cuts them up with scissors, infuriating her mom. I think in general, the big yada, yada, yada here is that I need to flesh out the nuance of Rita's relationship with her mom. I mean, in general, I think a thing I would take care of in draft 2 is like, why are all the households in this town single parent? And the answer is, I knew there had to be a parent-child dynamic and didn't want to bother with fleshing out 2 different characters for that. So everyone just has one parent in the first draft. This relationship really needs to be fleshed out, because so far we've seen Rita's mom be largely supportive, although she clearly has a strong desire for Rita to fit in with the other girls like Kay and Millie. And as Rita grows more rebellious and perhaps more openly queer, we need to see that her mom's support has a limit, and there's only so much individualism that Gabrielle is going to tolerate. Because Gabrielle, as an immigrant, feels a need to assimilate into this conservative white community. She feels like there is safety in belonging and getting everyone to accept her. Mm-hmm. And that includes Rita. If Rita doesn't fit in, then neither does Gabrielle. And so she needs to force her daughter to be quote unquote normal. And I think there would need to be some kind of big kind of fallout between them, sort of, where maybe a climax with Gabrielle yelling like, why can't you just be a normal little girl? And kind of highlighting the person that Gabrielle wants her to be. So that's kind of my big, like, we need to get to this point.
Okay, but I think that you have the outline of it there.
Yeah. In this section, we'll also see that Jason's murder of his son is pretty much completely covered up. She goes by their house the next day. There's no police cars, just Jason getting day drunk through the window. But it did really happen. Robbie is dead. We'll also get more of the deepening of the relationship with Rita and her video game pen pal, Philip, who at this point is basically her last remaining friend. She's feeling rejected by her mom, betrayed by the creature. Robbie is dead. She was humiliated in front of Kay and Millie, just as maybe she was starting to make some headway into being friends with them. Philip is really her only last safe space. And so after another big blow up with her mom, perhaps the one where Gabrielle tells her to be a normal girl, Rita flees to her room, buries herself under the covers, and boots up Creature Academy to play with Philip. Philip can tell she's been crying, but when he asks what's wrong, she shrugs him off.
Hunter, come on. Something has definitely been off the last couple days. We don't have to just play video games. I'm your friend. You can tell me what's up.
I don't even know where I'd start.
Wherever you want. I'll listen.
Rita begins to stutter in explanation, but before she can get into it, her mother storms in and pulls the covers off of her.
Hey, what did I tell you about talking to those perverts?
Mom, no! Gabrielle rips the headset off of Rita's head and puts it on herself.
Listen, buddy, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. She's just a 12-year-old girl. If I ever catch you talking to my Rita again, I'll trace your VP address and have the cops bust down your door. Now leave my daughter alone.
Gabrielle throws the headset to the ground. Rita stares at it in horror as Philip's distant voice comes from the speaker.
Rita?
Rita pushes past her mom and runs out of the room.
Oh, no, you don't. You're not running away again, young lady. Come back here.
But Rita grabs her backpack from beside the front door and runs out into the twilight. She's racing the sun on her scooter, trying to make it to the woods before it sets and turns the forest into the lagoon. She finds Nestor stoking the beginnings of a campfire, but before she can yell out to him, a hand covers her mouth and a pistol appears, pointed at her temple. Jason Danby says, his voice slurring,
"Keep your voice down, Mamacita. You wouldn't want to draw attention to yourself."
Essentially what happens here is a very drunk Jason Danby, looking like he hasn't slept since murdering his son, holds Rita at gunpoint and demands that Nestor give up the clearing. Nestor tries to call his bluff, saying he wouldn't really kill a little girl, but Rita pipes up and assures him that yes, Jason is absolutely capable of that. There's a short showdown and Nestor ends up taking advantage of Jason's inebriation and getting Rita away from him. Jason leaves, but not before threatening Nestor for the lot one last time. What do they want with the clearing?
I don't know. They probably just want to build another clubhouse to avoid their wives in. You should get out of here now. Who knows what they'll do next?
He tries to push her in the direction of home, but she digs her heels in. Can I actually stay here with you tonight?
I'm sorry. I don't think that's a good idea.
Rita sniffs with tears in her eyes. I don't want to go home anymore. Nestor sighs. It's a terrible idea, but he of all people understands.
All right. Come on.
The sun is set. When Rita goes to sit by the fire, she wobbles and takes out her huge glasses to stabilize herself.
What's with the x-ray specs?
Sometimes my vision flips upside down. Doctor doesn't know why. This flips it right side up.
That's peculiar. It just happens randomly?
Yeah, everywhere but the Black Lagoon.
Did you see him again?
He killed my friend.
He didn't kill anyone. He can't kill anyone unless he gets out. However your friend died, it would have happened even without the Black Lagoon.
When does he leave?
I'm sorry?
The creature. You said the Black Lagoon moves around. When will it go away? Nestor points toward the clearing.
That green sack you found out there? The one with the black eggs?
Yeah?
When the lagoon arrives in a new place, that sack is empty. As the creature carries new people to the other side, it fills up with those eggs. When it's full, the whole thing disappears and starts over somewhere else.
How do you find it again? Nestor digs into his pocket and pulls out an iridescent purple and green fish scale the size of his palm.
It's one of his. Wherever he goes, I only need to hold on to it. I know where to find him again.
He pockets it again, wary of keeping it exposed for too long.
It's actually an easy job. Set up camp in some remote location, read a book, watch the eggs pile up. I was not expecting the redneck regiment to put up such a resistance.
Does it get lonely? Nestor looks long into the fire.
Yeah. Yes, it does. But I was lonelier before.
Rita gazes into the fire as well. She can relate to that feeling. Nestor gives Rita the tent and volunteers to sleep outside. He looks sideways at the edge of the clearing and drifts to sleep. When he opens his eyes, he's lying on a beach with black water washing over him in slow waves. He sits up and realizes he's on the island in the middle of the Black Lagoon.
No, I can't.
He stands up and turns, finding himself face to face with the creature. The creature tilts his head and looks at him curiously.
It was them, wasn't it? The MAGA morons. They do this?
The creature is silent.
Please, just give me one more day. I have to tell somebody. I have to have a replacement sent down. Someone to protect this place. I promise I'll be back tomorrow night. I promise.
The creature slowly shakes his head. Nestor chokes out a sob and starts to tremble. The creature gently takes his hand and leads him into the cave. When they get to the pit, Nestor turns to put his back to it, saying he doesn't want to look. Instead, he looks up at the creature, swallowing his fear and standing straight in his final moments.
When you get up there, you see a bunch of guys in camouflage jackets. Give them hell for me, will you?
The creature brings a webbed hand up and softly cups Nestor's cheek. Then, with a quick, merciful gesture, he swipes a claw across Nestor's neck, opening it up. Nestor falls backwards into the pit. Rita awakens the next morning to the sound of engines roaring, punctuated by whooping and hollering. She darts up and stumbles out of the tent, only to find Nestor's lifeless body in a circle of blood-soaked dirt, his throat slit and eyes wide with horror. End of Act 2.
Dang. Rip to that guy.
Yeah, R.I.P. Nestor, but he got to see his old friend.
He did.
One last time.
I like the way that this reveal is done. I like that it's really the first time since the movie started that we changed point of view, and it's just for this sort of limited period of time. Yeah, I really wish I could say, man, these are some comically evil rednecks, but like, fuck, man. Unfortunately, I do fucking buy it. Apologies to anybody listening to this who's in Florida and says, okay, this is a slight exaggeration. And anybody,
I don't think it is.
I don't. It certainly doesn't feel that way from up here.
I'm from Michigan, where we also have militias, and I don't think this is that far off base.
Yeah, it does. It does really suck to witness the rise of Ron DeSantis. Gosh, it's fucking bleak for people who are down there and do not share this mindset.
Well, and so I think part of this setting and my whole concept for this kind of came from his house, which is his house is so scary because in addition to, before you even get to the supernatural element, you have the terror of these refugees whose entire existence is so fragile.
Yes.
Right? They could be kicked out of this country back to death at any moment, and they just kind of are at the mercy of the people around them. And this is kind of the same thing where I wanted to take a person coming into queer puberty in a extremely hostile location. And even without the Black Lagoon, her life would be scary enough as it is. And this just sort of illustrates that in a more fantastical way, which is also what Tigers Are Not Afraid does.
Yes.
You know?
But I also see, I see a lot of the DNA of his house in here as well. And it's it's working for me. I think I'm ready to press on to Act 3 and see how this all works out. And then we can pick anything else apart when we get there.
Yeah. Let's go into the climax. Act 3. Rita rushes to the clearing to find dirt bikes. The militia wanted the clearing to make a damn dirt bike track. We talked about comically evil, but like,
yes, but also
they did
like
all this
comically bleak. Yeah.
Yes, they wanted a dirt bike track. The chuds are spinning around in the mud, destroying the intricate pattern that was carved into it. As they ride, pitch black clouds start to roll in quickly, darkening the sky as if it were the middle of the night instead of noon. The men abandon the clearing for shelter. As one of the men passes the stump in the center, he makes a disgusted face at the sack and kicks it, breaking it open and spilling the black eggs everywhere. As soon as they're gone, Rita rushes into the clearing, gathering up all the eggs and putting them into a half-full smart water bottle she has with her. She's not sure if it will help, but she figures keeping them safe and wet is better than leaving them here. Rain starts to spit from the dark sky, and Rita looks up with fear. Meanwhile, on Whitestone Beach, people are packing up their umbrellas and beach chairs and heading for their cars, grumbling about how there wasn't any rain in the forecast today. Standing in the midst of all of them is Julia Gill-Man, out for another beach day with her girls. They're out swimming, and she calls for them to come in so they can go home. Millie and Kay head to the shore, with Millie in front, already in the shallows, and Kay lingering behind, still treading in the deep. As Millie kicks and splashes her way out, we see Kay get suddenly tugged under the surface before quickly bobbing back up. She yells and looks down into the water, confused. Her mom says, "Kay, dear, you all right?"
I think there's something down.
And then she's pulled under again, more forcefully this time. Under the water, we can see the creature's hand gripping her ankle. She screams out a stream of bubbles as she's pulled deeper. Her mom runs into the shadows with Millie, yelling for her daughter. When we cut back under the water, Kay has been pulled into the sand at the bottom, waist deep and getting sucked deeper. She reaches a hand up as her head is slowly engulfed by the sand, and then even her hand slips under. In the shallows, Julia and Millie are still wading deeper and yelling. They see Kay's stream of bubbles stop rising to the surface, and they freeze, fearing the worst. Then, slowly, the creature emerges before them. They stare up as he rises to tower over them, spraying water in all directions. Julia and Millie scream and run for the shore. The creature has been set loose on the town. He follows the fleeing beachgoers out past the entrance booths to the downtown drag. The rain is as heavy as a monsoon, and the gutters begin to overflow and turn the curbs into rivers. As the creature strides down the middle of the street, thin tendrils of seaweed snake out of storm drains, manholes, potholes, anything open, grabbing onto the ankles of the fleeing citizens and pulling them down into their depths, snapping their bones and tearing their flesh to make them fit. We might even show some shots from inside nearby homes where the running water turns thick and black before sucking people down into the drains, a la the 1988 Blob remake. If the creature comes directly across any townsperson, he quickly kills them and tosses aside their body with a splash, where it is subsumed by seaweed. Finally, the cavalry arrives in the form of a half-dozen citizen militia members pulling up in a pickup truck decorated in like 8 different fascist flags. Jason Danby and Mark Woodsend, again Clancy Brown, get out of the cab and give instructions to the 4 in the bed, all of them aiming their semi-automatics at the creature. On Mark's signal, they fire. When the bullets hit the creature, they merely splash against his flesh, but they do get his attention. He turns to see them, decked out in their camouflage jackets, and heads towards them with renewed purpose, his spines flared. He's out for revenge. They empty their clips into him, but he just keeps walking, marching right up to the front of the pickup, lifting it up by the front bumper and flipping it onto its back. He turns to Mark, who points his muzzle directly at the creature's face and yells as he fires round after round. The creature smacks the muzzle aside and the gunfire tears through a few of the men scrambling from under the truck. The creature places his enormous hand over Mark's face, digging his claws into the skin. Mark struggles for breath under the hand, and we see the webbing inflate and deflate with his panting. The creature slowly drags his claws inward, tearing the flesh away, crumpling his face like a tissue in his hand. Mark falls to the ground, a bloody skull screaming in agony. Jason smacks the creature in the back of the head with the butt of his rifle. The creature turns to look at him, cocking his head curiously. He knows this man. This man delivered him 2 different souls this week.
Yeah, come and get me, big boy. I ain't afraid of a freak like you. This is our town. And round these parts, we fight to keep what's ours.
The creature raises his hand and backhands Jason across the face. He reels, blood raining to the pavement. He tries to hit back, but the creature grabs his wrist and snaps it. The creature hits him again, hitting him repeatedly, just as he did with Jason's son, until Jason falls down in the street, his face a bloody pulp. He spits blood and looks up at the creature.
Oh, big tough guy, are you? Beating up a man half your size. You think that's fair? Only cowards don't play fair. And that makes you...
From out of the puddles around Jason, tendrils of black seaweed sprout and wrap around his wrists and neck. He stiffens as his veins near the seaweed bulge with black liquid, spreading out to cover his entire body. Bubbling black sludge begins to pour out of his ears, his nose, and spreading around the crotch of his jeans. He opens his mouth and we can see it rising in his throat, choking him. He suffocates just as the sludge fills the whites of his eyes, leaving lifeless black eggs in their place.
Really good, gnarly kill.
Well, Jason had it coming.
You built up, that's the thing, is you built up enough bile for this character that it's going to be satisfying.
My goal with Act 3 was to set up a lot of different pins and knock them all down. So hopefully that continues to happen.
You have created, this is weirdly enough, like our first big monster rampage through a town, 9 movies in.
It needed to happen.
And I like that you have made the monster both scary and also kind of righteous in a way that I think is often really appealing for like a monster or slasher movie.
This creature is very morally ambiguous. He just has a job to do that he was made to do. But also they killed his friend.
Yeah, and that set him loose, right? I understand that correctly. He's loose because
they messed up the clearing, the sort of sigils in the mud and the sack.
Right.
It has freed him from the Black Lagoon.
And that was what Titus Welliver's character was maintaining.
His job is to follow the creature wherever he goes and protect that clearing to keep the creature in his realm.
Okay. And now that he's set loose, and so we have the classic horror movie transgression, and now they basically deserve whatever they get.
Yeah.
All right.
Horror movie morals.
Yep.
Downtown is in chaos. The streets have filled with water, and cars are beginning to float away towards the beach, colliding with anything in their path. People, street lamps, even a gas pump, sending the station erupting in a cool-ass explosion. It's our big monster rampage. We got to have some...
absolutely.
Downtown is getting fucking destroyed.
Yeah, blow up that Krispy Kreme.
Julia and Millie have stumbled across Gabrielle in this mess, and all of them are standing in the thigh-deep water. Julia is sobbing and begging Gabrielle to take Millie home so Julia can go back to the beach to search for Kay. Gabrielle is trying to convince her that it's too dangerous, that they all need to run together. The two women yell over the rain at each other, Millie standing nearby looking traumatized, when suddenly two webbed hands grab Julia's head from behind and snap her neck. She falls into the water, leaving just the creature standing there. Tendrils of seaweed grab Julia's body and tug her under, squeezing her body through a nearby storm drain and out of sight. Gabrielle shoves Millie behind her and backs up slowly as the creature advances on her. Just then, Rita arrives, scooting onto Main Street from higher ground where it hasn't quite started flooding. She sees the creature advancing on her mother and she screams, "No!" causing both of them to turn and look at her. She runs towards them, but slips in a puddle and goes tumbling to the ground. Her thick glasses fly off and crack on the pavement, skittering into the water and sinking out of sight. Her mother screams,
"Rita, baby, run home!"
But Rita wades into the water and heads towards them, the camera image flipped upside down to show Rita's POV. Gabrielle yells for her again and the creature hits her, slamming her sideways into a car and knocking her out cold. Rita and Millie both scream and Millie runs away past Rita. Rita's mom is floating face down in the water. Rita flips her over and tries to drag her to safety, but the creature grabs her mother's ankle and yanks her away. Rita again yells "no" at the creature again and pulls, playing tug of war with her mom's body. The creature holds his grip and looks at her. "Fine, I'll go with you. I'll go to the lagoon and I'll be your partner or whatever, and I'll keep you company, I'll help you with the souls, and whatever you want, just let her go." The creature obeys. Rita helps her mom up to a dry part of the street, and as soon as she does, the creature scoops her up, carrying her in his arms up the street back towards the lagoon. Rita puts her arms around his neck and looks back, upside down, at her mother receding in the distance. By the time they get back to the lagoon, Rita has fainted in the creature's arms. He swims her out to the island, walks her into the cave he calls home, and lays her down on the seaweed floor. Meanwhile, Millie, the last surviving member of the Gill-Man family, has run back to Gabrielle and woken her up. She says she saw where the creature and Rita went and can lead her there. Gabrielle finds Rita's broken glasses and chokes back a sob, then follows Millie. When they get to the woods, Gabrielle tells Millie to hang back and enters the lagoon alone. It's her first time there, and we take one last moment to linger on the queer splendor of the realm. Then she sees a shadow move in the cave on the island under the water and dives into the lagoon. She gets to the cave, but the creature is waiting for her. He grabs her and wrests her in the direction of the glowing tunnel, but Gabrielle doesn't go along willingly. As she fights the creature, she catches a glimpse of Rita in the adjoining cave and screams her name before the creature covers her mouth with his hand. But it's enough to wake Rita from her slumber. "Mom?" she mutters, then catches sight of their shadows wrestling on the cave wall. She rushes out just in time to see the creature throw her mom down into the glowing pit. Rita screams and sprints between the creature's legs, diving into the pool of glowing water after her mom. For the first time, we see the inside of the tunnel. It's lined with arms, humanoid in shape, but with dark gray-green skin like the seaweed we've seen, wrinkled and slimy. A dozen of the arms have reached out and grabbed her mother, passing her down the tunnel towards the bottom. In the distance, where there should be the source of the orange glow, there's instead a pitch-black sphere of nothingness that bends the light around it like a black hole. The screams in the tunnel are deafening. It's impossible to tell if they're coming from the black hole or from the walls themselves. The sound hurts Rita's ears and she winces in pain as she dives deeper after her mother, who is wrenching fruitlessly at the arms. Before she can reach her, more arms burst out and grab her. She slips out of the first few, but then they hold tight and her mother gets pulled farther away from her. "Mom! Mom, I'm coming!" Then the creature splashes in after her, speeding down to Rita and grabbing her ankle, pulling her up to the surface. "Let her go! You promised!" But the creature keeps pulling her, and her mother is getting closer to the black orb. Desperate, Rita reaches into her bag and pulls out the smart water bottle full of eggs. She points the tip at the creature's face and squeezes. When she does, something truly unexpected happens. As soon as the eggs pass out of the water bottle and into the lagoon water, they transform back into the people who died there. Suddenly, a dozen terrified bodies are shot out at the creature, including Robbie. When they see where they are, they all rush for the surface, pushing past the creature, who is now trying desperately to wrangle them all back down the tunnel. Rita takes her chance and swims down the tunnel, grabbing her mother's hand just before she reaches the black sphere. But the arms are pulling too hard, and her grip is slipping.
"I love you, Mommy. I'm sorry I didn't understand you better."
Rita sobs, trying to hold on with all her might, but her mother's hand slips through her fingers. And then suddenly Nestor is there, grabbing both of them firmly and pulling Gabrielle out of the tunnel's grasp. They flee upwards, squirming through the tangled mass of bodies fighting with the creature. On their way up, Gabrielle's head cracks against a rock and spills blood into the water, knocking her out cold. Nestor drags her body off the island, and he and Rita dive back into the lagoon, swimming until they reach the shore. Before they can celebrate, they turn to see a spiny fin racing towards them through the water.
You and your mom need to go now. I'll take care of him.
You have to come with us.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Nestor reaches into his pocket and slides something into Rita's palm. It's the creature scale.
When tonight is over, the lagoon is going to move again. You have to find it as quickly as you can and protect it.
What? I can't. I'm just...
It has to be you, Hunter. I could tell from the first time we met. You have to be the guy.
But I don't know how.
Don't worry. You won't be alone in this. My people will find you and give you the resources you need.
Rita looks terrified. Nestor puts his hands on her shoulders and speaks softly.
You don't have to be afraid of him anymore. He won't be able to get you now. Not for a long, long time.
He stands and turns back towards the swiftly approaching creature.
You're the protector the lagoon needs, Hunter. Make me proud.
He dives in to confront the creature head on. Rita helps her dazed mother to her feet and they limp out into the woods. Rita guides her mother home and dumps her into her bed. When she does, her glasses fall out of Gabrielle's pocket and land at Rita's feet. She kicks them under the bed. She knows she won't need them anymore. She packs her backpack with clothes and her notebooks. She makes herself a couple PB&J sandwiches in the kitchen. Then she goes into the bathroom with a pair of scissors and chops her hair short. She goes back into her mother's room to say goodbye. Her mom is still dazed and delirious, half asleep and restless. Rita kisses her on the forehead. I'm sorry, Mom. This is who I was meant to be, I guess. She sheds a few tears. I hope I see you again someday. And then maybe we can try again. Her mother blinks her eyes open and looks up at her blearily, not recognizing the new silhouette in front of her.
Who are you?
Rita leaves without another word. She stands on the front porch, the moon and stars shining down on her and the whole world in front of her. She cups the scale in her hands, closes her eyes, and takes a deep breath. She knows where to go now. And so she goes. The end.
But
it is a franchise movie.
Yeah, I figured.
Let's get to our mid-credits scene. Hunter wanders along the shoulder of a highway, thumb stuck out to the passing cars. A black town car with tinted windows pulls up and the passenger door opens. Hunter peers in skeptically, but ultimately gets in. The unseen driver speaks.
Where are you headed?
Atlanta.
I can take you a lot farther than Atlanta, kid.
Hunter looks warily at the driver. We finally pan to see none other than Indrid Cold behind the wheel.
So, you're the new guy, huh?
You knew Nestor?
That I did. Hadn't seen him in years, but he was still on the payroll. I'm sorry to hear what happened to him. You stopped a bad situation from getting a lot worse, though, and for that, I am grateful.
He reaches out a hand to shake.
Welcome to Prodigium, Hunter. Now, where are we really going? I thought that might be where we were going.
Post-credits scene. I almost made it explicit in the movie that...
No, but it's better when you don't do that, because it completely works as its own thing.
I wanted to be totally standalone until
That's a really good way to do that.
So now we got our post-credits scene. Credits have finished rolling. The screen is black. We hear a rhythmic pounding, accompanied by desperate grunts. Eventually, a shaft of light appears, and we hear the sound of rushing water and a man sputtering, attempting to breathe. Nick Morton bursts out of the sarcophagus to find that it's resting at the bottom of some enormous body of water. He swims up and up, away from the tomb he's been trapped in, and eventually comes up gasping for air at the surface of the Black Lagoon. He looks around wildly, confused at where he is or how he got here. His eyes land on a glowing island of orange light that seems to only exist as a reflection. He swims towards it. The end.
All right, and that ties it back in with The Mummy Returns, where I know you were trying to figure out how the hell you were going to get Nick out of the sarcophagus that you buried him in.
And I don't even know if this is how he gets out, because he's not really out.
No.
He's in the Black Lagoon.
He's in a metaphysical realm now.
Yes. And I didn't design it this way, but afterwards I was like, oh, this actually works perfectly for a way to integrate the creature into our Dark Legion. I don't think he actually has to be part of the team, but we now have a backdoor to death.
Yes.
And a character, Hunter, who our characters don't know, but is sort of our human ambassador to the Black Lagoon, right?
Right.
And so now we have this sort of shortcut into the afterlife that we can use for whatever purposes we can imagine. And I think that fits into our world and will be useful to the Dark Legion.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to thread that needle. I really enjoy the third act. I think that it has that great big monster movie climax that we have somehow managed to write around doing a bunch of times. And I was always thinking about whether or not I feel like your act 3 has an act 3, which something you talk about in previous ones. And I think that the confrontation with trying to retrieve the mother and the sort of, I suppose, not permanent escape of those souls.
Yeah, the creature's going to wrangle them all and get them back in. It's just a distraction, which she didn't even know was going to happen. You know, it's just kind of but then Nestor appears and is able to help because he was in the bottle as one of these eggs.
Right, and offering a little bit of some final thoughts about what the destiny of this character is.
Yes, we finally, there's kind of the misdirect of, oh, she's going to be with him and will live in the lagoon with him, and that will sort of be the end. But I wanted to we got to have our big monster movie set piece, the rampage through downtown. But then we need to have our personal stakes climax, which I think happens back at the lagoon. But then the question is, well, we've been to the lagoon like 5 times. What's going to be different about this time?
This time we see the
tunnel.
Yeah, and the tunnel through there.
We actually go and see the tunnel everyone's been scared of. We see this passage to death. We get inches from it, before her mother is pulled out, so we have to ramp up that tension as high as it can possibly get till it seems hopeless. And then Nestor saves them. And then we get our real ending, which is Hunter now has to be the guy, as he says.
Yes. And I guess there's the awkwardness of telling a story that involves a trans coming of age, in the sense that, well, during the telling of the story, we've been talking about Rita and using a she, her set of pronouns. Just for the reference going forward, referring to this character with Hunter, do we have that figured out yet?
I don't have it figured out yet. I mean, my whole rationale is like, we are in this with Rita, which... she doesn't know what her pronouns are or what is happening to her.
She's figuring out. But
she
you
knows
make
what
a
feels
note.
good to her, and
yes, but the reason that I ask is that in that mid-credit scene, the character's dialogue is identified as Hunter rather than as Rita.
Yes,
which kind of implies that there has been sort of an acceptance of a new identity, and that can but does not necessarily involve a new specific gender identity or set of identifiers.
Yeah, I think we'll figure it out as we go. We're going to see this character again, and we will follow sort of her journey as she figures out what feels best to her. And again, I didn't want this movie to be like, I am realizing that I am trans and this is my journey. Because also, it hasn't been my personal journey. I don't know how much of that is my story to tell. I am non-binary, but like, this is clearly a different experience.
It's always the kind of thing that, like, a line that I always feel like is important is that you want to have people with different experiences come from different places than you do in your stories. And the line I always try to tiptoe is like, it's relevant, for instance, that in The Wolfman that Larry is black, but I can't tell a story about being black.
Right.
That's not something that I have the experience to write about.
And I think Rita being a child is sort of I wouldn't say it's a cop-out, but it's kind of a nice happy medium where like I don't have to be explicit about all of her exact journey because she doesn't know what it is
right
yet.
She's still figuring it out herself.
She's just figuring out that like she feels different than the people around her and is just sort of kind of blindly grasping at what feels good and what doesn't. She puts on the dress, then she hates the dress, and then
honestly, this is probably, and maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but thinking about like shit I'll read in like Maddie Lubchansky comics or whatever, is that sometimes in the effort to try and create space for trans stories, it ends up creating another unnecessary binary where it decides that you have to fit into this bucket or this bucket, when the whole idea is accepting that these buckets are constructs. And some people feel that they belong in the bucket into which they were assigned, and some people feel they belong into another bucket. But you also can feel as if you don't belong in a bucket, or you can jump around between buckets.
I have a feeling that at some point Hunter will be he, him, but I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, we're going to...
Right, and that's not necessarily what the story has to be about going forward.
No, I in my mind, like, we see her in the Dark Legion, and they'll just refer to her as they, maybe. Maybe she'll be non-binary. That, but that story won't be about that. She'll just be like, hey, I'm Hunter.
No, that one's probably going to be about a mummy or something.
Yeah, it's probably going to be about Imhotep.
Yes. So, I think that's done, I'm less qualified than you are to declare it done, to declare it sensitive and good representation. I'll leave it to our audience to tell us how they feel about that. And that kind of leads us into I guess before we do the mailbag, I guess we got to lock in the story. We got to do picture lock. Let's talk about what the important bullet points are here that you want to carry forward into the future of our franchise.
Mostly this is standalone, but the things that are important are that we now have this realm called the Black Lagoon, which basically the mechanics of it is that it is a metaphysical realm where life and death there's a very thin line between there. There's not, and so it kind of manifests as this physical space. The lagoon gets set up, and once it has taken enough souls, it moves somewhere else on the earth. And there is a person who has been employed by Prodigium that is basically follows it around just to make sure that that realm doesn't spill over into the real world. That the ferryman, which is what the creature is, he is just someone that ushers you from one plane to another down that tunnel. But if he gets out, then he now isn't just taking people that would have died anyway, but he is now able to take anybody. And it sort of collapses that sensitive space. And so Hunter is now the person who is involved with Prodigium. My vision for this is kind of like, this is like a department that Prodigium doesn't really worry about. It's like just kind of a set it and forget it thing. Like, yeah, we got the guy that just kind of he babysits it. It's a babysitting gig, like up until now, it's been easy. It's just some place in the woods. And he just makes sure that he scares people away with his wolf suit and doesn't worry about it, But maybe at this point now they'll be keeping a little bit closer eye on it. And so Hunter, while I initially thought of her as like a one-off character, ended up finding that ending where it's like, oh, actually she's going to be around for a while and we'll get to follow her, as sort of the emissary for the Black Lagoon. And that's about it. And we know that Nick, as someone who is a little between life and death right now, given his situation, has ended up in the Black Lagoon, but we don't know to what end.
Great. Then we can lock that in.
And this is our Black Lagoon film.
Okay, and we are so over time that I think I'm going to actually hold our mailbag stuff for the next episode.
Okay.
It's just been so thrilling and wonderful that we've been getting so much feedback from listeners.
Yes,
in the past couple of weeks,
we do want to
especially.
shout you all out. Maybe guest episodes are better times for that because we tend to not go
they don't tend to go quite as long. So I'm going to hang on to these, but there's been some really great listener created material lately that we've been sharing on social media, but I do want to give it time on the show because I think it deserves that kind of attention. It's just we're looking at our game clock right now is at 2 hours and 20. Hopefully you're not at that point there. And we have a little bit more house cleaning to take care of our own.
But thank you to everyone who's been making fan art because I think that's what we really wanted. We really wanted to see some fan art for people, and we've loved every single piece of it. It rules. I can't believe I'm so glad that we're inspiring people to, put their creative passion into the dark universe as well, which is incredible. I can't believe we've gotten to this point.
And we kind of want to talk a little bit about the space that's creating. First of all, as always, you can hit us up with your thoughts, your comments, your notes, your complaints to at Dark Universe Pod on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/Dark Universe Pod, at our email address, darkuniversepod@gmail.com, or at our new voicemail box, US 917-819-2574. But we have some new shit to discuss, which is we've been hinting at it for a little bit, and Dalton and I are launching a Patreon. Now, we have to clarify for legal reasons, this is not a Patreon for Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, because Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe is built off of the universe that is a registered trademark of Universal Pictures.
Yes, we are not charging for content related to Universal Pictures or the things that they own. However,
this show is and will always be free, not just because we like it that way, but because it has to be.
But we can say that if you like this show, you will like the Patreon benefits. Let's talk about what we have so far.
We built a Discord,
which is a great place where fans can talk about these episodes and these pitches together, talk about other movies.
Yeah, we also would like it to be a space where people can do what we do for each other, which is workshop creative stories, share your own work in a sort of safe space where also we promise that you still own everything you post there.
Yes, it's just a Discord. We will be sharing our own work, not separated from anyone else's, but just in the chat with everybody.
Other than there being a channel to talk about the events of this show with spoilers on. Our sharing our music or stories is going to be intermingled just right with you guys. So
And there will also be supplemental material from the episodes that I know a lot of you have been asking for. And I can't get into specifics, but if you are interested in getting more of the materials we use to create these shows, you might find them on that Discord.
And like, we have some lofty ideas about where we can take this Patreon in terms of the kind of content we can create for you once it hopefully accumulates some. This show is very time consuming.
Yeah, so we're
and as we say, this show is and will always be free. So in order for us to create more content for you like this, we'd have to be able to make it worth our time. We're not going to bullshit you about like, oh, you know, we are living under capitalism and I have a baby and Dalton's time is very valuable.
Basically, what we're going to do is the Patreon is going to have monetary goals. And once we hit those goals, we will be able to invest more time into creating more bonus content. The first goal we're going to aim for is the creation of a bonus podcast that will basically be just for patrons. It'll come out maybe not every week we don't have a new episode, but at least once a month. It
depends. Filling some of those gaps. Yeah. And that's where we will be able to talk about new movies and maybe work on workshopping some new ideas of our own, which would be cool. So it will still have a creative element, we're hoping.
Yeah, and yeah, talking about pop culture stuff we don't have time for here, maybe getting into more mailbag stuff, basically giving us more time to hang out with you guys where we're not just pitching movies and talking to guests. And so hopefully if we hit that benchmark, we'll have a new pod for you very quickly.
We will have a $5 tier, which is the main tier for joining our Patreon. And although we would love to encourage people to contribute more if they have the means, our intention is for all the content that we create to be available to all patrons, regardless of how much money you're putting in.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the idea is that all content will be available to all tiers. The motivation for you paying more is either to just support us or to help us meet these goals for additional content.
Right. So the money that you put in, if you go more than the $5, is to not just help yourself, but to help everybody get closer to the next thing they want to see.
So as of today, you can head to the URL for our Patreon, which is
patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. That's DYLANANDDALTON.
And sign up and get access to the Discord. Come hang out with us. Talk with us about the Black Lagoon. Tell us what you think about Rita and her journey or any of the other characters. Casting ideas. I still didn't cast the mother, actually, whose name I'm going to have to change if we ever see her again.
Right, because we already have another Gabrielle, and we have like the kind of thing. I just don't want another Jenny situation. We have too many Jennys.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of comments about the casting in this that we just didn't have time for. So maybe we'll talk about then the Discord, like some of the decisions of the cast I made. And
yeah, maybe that'll help to make our show less interminably long.
Yeah, we can talk about it on the Discord and you can pitch us ideas that can be replaced. But that is all the time we have for. We've gone long. Thank you for sticking with us through the Black Lagoon. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope it wasn't too esoteric for the podcast medium. This is where you reassure me, Dylan.
Oh, I think it was really cool. I mean, we always talk about whenever we do something different, we're like, that's one of the cool things about the show. The freedom that we have that like movie studios generally don't use, which is to zig and zag and really do a different kind of story every time we do one.
I hope I've added a very unique entry into our Dark Universe canon.
And the next one that I'm bringing up is so different from this. It could not be. Once again, it's another zag.
So join us here in 2 weeks where we'll be talking to
Nick Bond, contributor to The Ringer, to pitch a WrestleMania tie-in event for the Dark Universe.
That's right. WrestleMania.
Oh, that's going to be wonderful.
This weekend, I believe, as this comes out. And so we will be talking WrestleMania on the next episode. And then Dylan will be pitching our next new franchise for the Dark Universe, The Phantom of the Opera.
I'm so excited to share it. Got some cool zigs and zags in store for you.
Thanks, everybody. Look out for the creature behind your shower curtain. And until next time,
stay afraid of the Dark Universe.
Okay, as someone who likes cryptozoology, who likes cryptid stories, yeah, I need to be more cryptid, less whatever. Anyway, that'll be all for today. I've got Dungeons and Dragons at 3. I'll see you all next time. See ya!